Good afternoon, brothers. Good evening, wherever you are. It is your dude, Mr. International Passport. How are you brothers doing? First and foremost, brothers, how is my audio? Please press a one in the chat if you can hear me loud and clear. Please press a one in the chat right now if you can hear me loud and clear. How is my audio, please, brothers? Okay. Before I go any further, how's the audio? All right. Who's here? Press a one in the chat. Okay. Thank you, Matumbo Dibwe, for confirming that. Thank you, bro. Much appreciated. Any more ones just to make sure that I'm good audio wise? Any more ones? Can someone please press a one to confirm if you can hear me loud and clear? How is my audio? Who's in the building? Okay. Press a one in the chat if I'm good. All right. Thank you, Bass Pill Clips. Much appreciated, bro. So, brothers, welcome to another classic live stream. I am your gracious host, Mr. International Passport. I want to say a huge thank you to those who have supported the channel over the past almost 10 years. Your support has been greatly appreciated. I welcome aboard the new viewers and subscribers. I accept and welcome you with open arms. So first and foremost, brothers, when you come in, please press the like video. Likes very important and will help YouTube push out this content to like-minded black men who need this information and to show them that all is well and do not stress out in the West. Just get your passport. So let's get straight into it. So make sure you hit the Cash App tonight, super chats, cop the merch, support any way you can during the Patreon Diamond tier. That'd be greatly appreciated. So brothers, in this stream, I have a very special guest here with me called Mr. Benzi, who is here to provide us information about his time in Brazil. Mr. Benzi, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, bro. Fantastic. So, do you mind giving us a brief background about where you're from, who you are, and anything special about you, brother?
Yeah, I'm a 33-year-old, soon to be 34 next month, Canadian. I was born here in Canada. I'm living currently in Vancouver, Canada. Right now, I'm a computer engineer or computer engineer, system administrator, systems analyst. They all fall under the kind of the same umbrella. So basically, in IT and technologies, and just working get out of the matrix, basically.
Fantastic, brother. Fantastic. Awesome. So let's get straight into it, brother. Brazil. We're here to speak about dating in Brazil and, of course, life in Brazil. So let's touch upon the dating part in the first part of the stream. I want to ask this question, brother. Where were you at in Brazil, and what cities, and how long were you there out for, brother?
So on and off, I've been in Brazil. All in all, it's been about almost 2 years in terms of time that I've spent there. In 2019, I spent close to a year living in Brazil. I spent time in Rio. That's where I was mainly living. The postcard. So that's usually the first place where people head to get the initial experience in Brazil. So that's kind of where I went to start off my love for that country.
Fantastic, brother. Awesome. So my first question to you, brother, in regards to Brazilian women is, are the women in Brazil checking for brothers? Particularly the black men. Are the Brazilian women checking for us, brother? If so, why is that from your experience?
So from my experience, I would say yes, mainly yes and no. Now, the reason why I say yes and no is if you're the whole package as a man, absolutely no problems with any group. But I noticed in where I was staying in, like the Ipanema, Copacabana area, there's like the lighter complexion Brazilians. Absolutely, there's a chance to get them. I was getting them. But if you are not a man who is on his mission, working hard, moving forward, it can be a little challenging. That being said, when you go a little bit further out into Rio, like the other cities like Maricá, where else, San Gonçalo, Ponta Negra, like these places, all of the chicks are checking for brothers, all of them. It's
Oh,
I actually prefer that, to be honest.
oh, okay. That's wonderful, brother. Brother, do you mind typing out those particular spots in that private chat so I can post it for brothers in
Yeah,
the live stream
absolutely.
chat, please? I think that's very important because it's best for us to go to places where we're wanted, for us just, going there and just seeing, okay, let's see what happens, It's better to plan it properly. If women here are looking for brothers specifically, go here. That's great, bro. Interesting. So let's unpack your statement there. Why do you think in those particular spots you're going to type to me in a private chat, is a place where they are checking heavy for brothers? What is it about brothers they love so much?
Sorry, say it again.
So why in these spots do they love brothers so much? So Sao Gonzalo, Marical, Ponta Negra, why is it so much that they like brothers a lot? The women.
Well, it's just those areas are more lower to middle class areas. So, like when you're in Ipanema, Copacabana, and Zona Sul is what they call South Zone, you're interacting with people who are a higher end in terms of finances, right? So, and most of them are chasing a level of status um, of an individual. And Brazil is a very interesting place, and I say that because Brazil is a country that many people don't know is made up majority of black and brown people. So
Mm,
as a Westerner, that's where we would kind of differentiate ourselves if done correctly. But we are not any kind of novelty to them. They see black people every day, right?
mm,
And a lot of the times in these countries, being black person, you're working very kind of lower end jobs, like sweeping the streets. Granted, there's plenty of brothers out here doing their thing, working in corporate and all that. But I'm just saying, on a day to day, from what I've noticed, you see most of the people who are doing the remedial tasks to keep the lights on are typically black and brown people, right? So there is that kind of social divide in those areas in specific, right? But when you start venturing out, you separate yourself, and those people are looking. And when you get out to those points, those other cities in Rio, they start to look for more. They start to look for more of the providing. Can he provide? Is this guy going to be a good husband? Right?
mm.
They're not looking for like, where's your apartment at? What's the Louis V store? There's a Louis V store there, like, hey, like, what do you do for work? Are you well traveled? This kind of stuff. It's very, some of those spots, you almost feel very Western in the mindset. Even though when you get to know those girls, they are traditional and they tend to still be better than the average girl here in the West. But breaking that barrier, the social class barrier, could be a little challenging if you're not prepared.
Oh, okay, brother. Let me ask this, brother, right? So you're telling me, right, it's harder for even Western black men from America and UK and Canada to get the upper middle class or upper class woman of any race in Brazil. So I'm guessing Brazil is a very class based society.
It's a very class based society, and a lot of people don't notice that. Not in particular parts, right? But like, it is very class based, especially the parts where you want to be, the beautiful parts right by the certain beaches. Especially in Rio, it's very, very, very class based. So, and it's cool because as a Westerners, we jump ourselves into a different socioeconomic class just by being there. But the girls aren't just gonna run to you unless they are unless it's a pay system, right? If you know what I'm talking about. But typically it's more of, you need to separate yourself from everybody else, because Rio, let's remember, it is an international city. It is an international market. Everybody wants to play in Rio, so you gotta be that guy. You gotta separate yourself and be that guy so that you can play properly. I'm talking about with more the European centric looking Brazilians, and like some of the, even the, we call them mulattas, like some of the light skinned girls who you would see in like the early 2000s videos. Even them, they get a little bit, because they get so much attention, right? So you need to
Mm,
just be careful with who you're dealing with.
wow. Okay, brother. This is fantastic so far. This is beautiful. So Let me let me ask this question, right? What is the average Brazilian woman looking for in a guy, particularly in a Western black man? Because obviously we're competing with Brazilian black men, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
we want like the top-notch European Brazilian chick, the mulata chicks, right, or the dark-skinned Brazilian woman,
Mm-hmm.
what are they looking for? How can we differentiate ourselves from the black Brazilian dudes or the white Brazilian dudes in Brazil?
Well, the first thing that you can do to differentiate yourself is speak Portuguese, or at least a level of Portuguese. I noticed that when I lived in Brazil, I was there to learn Portuguese, and I had a lot of problems because unfortunately it took me a long time to learn the language.
Hmm.
So because it took me a long time to learn the language, I was very in my head, right? So I was still dealing with girls, but I was dealing with the girls on holiday. You know what I mean? Even though I wanted the Brazilians, I'd go after the Europeans, I'd go after a couple of the Russians, things like that. But in general, I didn't have a lot of success because I was a little bit nervous to communicate with them. But these last several times, as I started going back, I came back to Canada partially because of the pandemic, and then when I've taken several trips out there since 2019, and now that I have a level of a working knowledge of Portuguese in the sense of I can communicate properly on a day-to-day basis with people, I was going on dates with girls who don't speak English, girls who speak a little bit of English, and it changes the dynamic between you and them. They're more interested in they want to learn English. They're speaking to you with a level of English, and you have to correct them. You're kind of guiding them through the date. And at that point, they start to look at you as somebody who is like, okay, this guy is somebody that I can attach myself to. I can feel comfortable because you're not saying much. They're saying everything because they're trying to at least learn some English, right? Or if they're trying to, especially if they're in an English class, they want to try to speak a little bit of English, right? And then like you look at them, sometimes you play games, kind of make your eyes like I don't understand what you said, even if you do, and then you'll be like, "Desculpa, fala isso em português para mim, por favor," like something like that, like say this to me in Portuguese, please, right? And then
Hmm.
they'll say it, and then you kind of laugh and say, "No, I understood what you were saying. I just was playing with you," right? So and then you create that kind of attachment with the girl. That's how I noticed I did it, and I had a lot of success because of it. So it would have been a lot better, especially as opposed to some of my other friends who were going out there just speaking some English. And if the girl don't speak English and you only speak English and don't speak Portuguese, a lot of guys have success, but it could be challenging, right? I don't like challenges. I like to make it easy for myself.
Fantastic, brother. Awesome, awesome. So, Mr. Benzi, right? Let me ask this, brother. Um, so I know Brazil is a very multicultural country, particularly Rio de Janeiro, right? Let me ask
Mm-hmm.
you, right? Who gave you the most success in terms of race, right? And when black men go out there to Brazil and Rio de Janeiro, who should they be targeting race wise? Because I know it's not a perfect country. Racism is there, classism is there, right? So as
Yeah.
the white woman, the mixed race black woman, so half black, half white mulattas, and the black woman, who is
Mm-hmm.
likely to give you most play on average as a black American brother, black UK brother, and black Canadian brother?
Honestly, man, to be honest, it's anybody, and I know that's a cop out, but it's anybody. Everything depends on where they grew up. Meaning, if they grew up in the South Zone, doesn't matter what color the girl is, she gonna give you problems. She gonna give you problems because she's been exposed to foreigners so much. She probably speaks English and probably speaks English semi fluently. And as we know, the English language is the biggest cancer to dating in the world, um, because they've been exposed to the outside world in English, right?
Mm.
So I'll give you a good example. The girls who didn't speak, and I'm not saying this for everybody, I'm just saying from my experience, and it's quite a good sample size. Every single girl who didn't have a good working knowledge of English, when I asked them about OnlyFans, they didn't know. But every girl who spoke English, who I did go out with, and I told them, asked them about OnlyFans, they knew.
Wow.
right? So it's just things like that. It's small things like that, because instead of watching the Portuguese memes or the Portuguese like GIFs and like Instagram and YouTube shorts, they're watching the ones in Portuguese, and they can watch the ones in English. And the ones in that opens the door to a whole new world for them in terms of understanding. And our culture is just, let's be honest, our culture is just promote degeneracy at the highest level.
Yep.
Right. So these girls start to get exposed to that, and they start to see, it's almost like I say, it's seeing through the Iron Curtain and the Red Wall in the Russia in the 1980s, right? It's like they were behind that wall. But then when you learn the English language, the fall of that wall opens up an entire new existence for them, and they explore it. And that's not good for you, because that's when you start running into issues of um the big F word that ends in ism. I know this
Yes.
is YouTube. You start running into problems like that, and you don't want anything like that in your life.
Wow. This is very good intel, Benzi. Okay, so Benzi, right? So Rio de Janeiro, let's pick it apart further, right? Let's pick it apart further.
Mm-hmm.
So there are certain spots in Rio where don't go there to get women. It's over. Westernized don't even attempt to do it, right? So let me ask this, brother, right? You mentioned Sao Gonzalo, Marica, and Ponta Negra. Are these the only spots in Rio brother should only be going to get decent, respectable, reasonable woman? Nothing else,
No,
nothing more.
no, that was just kind of like a point that I wanted to highlight, because my best friend lives in Marica and was living in San Gonzalo. So I used to go out there fairly often, and I know those cities quite well. Even though there are a little bit, San Gonzalo is a little bit dangerous. Um, if you're kind of like the city of Rio, right? Like, you just have to know what you're doing, but you can find incredible women there. Um, there's if you go to the north zone in Rio, like Uruguayana, um, where's that stadium again? The stadium where they the Germans beat up the Brazilians. I
Oh,
think
Maracana Stadium.
Maracana Stadium. Like, if you go out to those places, and um, there's plenty of good women in those different zones. Botafogo is another good spot. No, the city's filled with beautiful women who are great. I'm just saying, the ones who live in Zona Sul tend to be more affluent. And if they tend to be more affluent, it tends to be more difficult to get them into relationships with you, right? And I'm not saying
Mm,
don't try, because a lot of those girls, especially when you break down the walls, they're incredible women. But it's just, it almost feels like at points you're dealing with a girl, a Western girl, almost, it feels like. And we're leaving because we don't want to deal with those experiences anymore, right? So
yes.
that's kind of just all I was saying with that. But they're still great. They're still incredible.
Brother, do me a favor. You mentioned these Brazilian names there. So do you mind typing in a private chat? Go to this place here. That's the name. Avoid this place here. That's the name, please, brother. That'd be great for the brothers, just so we can spell it and research it further. Thank you, brother.
Yeah. My spelling is bad, but were you able to see the San Gonzalo, Marica, Ponta Negra in
Yes.
the chat? Okay, so I'll say
Yes.
North Zone.
Shout out to Mr. KW Leaves in America for the $4.99 super chat. Thank you, brother. I dated an upper class white Brazilian from Sao Paulo, also half indigenous, a half black woman, treated me very well. Yes, indeed. Also, brother, hopefully you calling later, KW. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you very much. Wow. I mean, why you types that? It appears to me that Brazil has many complexities. But you need to know what you're doing in Brazil to have the best money, best bang for your buck. Don't go out there being some type of dude that feel like everything will fall into place. You need to know what's happening in Brazil. Great
Yeah,
point so far,
you
brother.
really
Go.
yeah, you really need to know. You really need to know what you're doing. And I just want to take a second to shout out the late great Charles Tyler. I don't know if you had a chance to watch Charles Tyler's show. That guy, if any of the brothers had never heard of him, he passed away several years ago. But get to that content to Charles, just type in Charles Tyler on YouTube and just go down the rabbit hole, because that guy really opened up the eyes on what all the information I got from my first trip in 2016, I got from Charles Tyler.
Wow. Thank you, brother. Rest in peace to Mr. Charles Tyler. Rest in peace to that brother. So next question for you, brother, is the F word, right? Feminism. Is that a problem out there in Rio de Janeiro when you're out there, or is it becoming a problem? And how do we spell feminist woman? You know, what are the key signs in Brazil? And in general, is there a problem there? Break it down for me, brother.
This is something that's been close to my heart because I've been talking to my friends about this who are back and forth as well in Brazil. It's starting to rear its ugly head. Now you can't go full Fism if, because of the state of the economy in Brazil, doesn't allow for it, right? Because in only privileged countries you have the ability to really go full throttle into garbage like that, right? So, and it's honest, right? But when you're when you're when you're in a country like that, you don't have the economic support and backing. You don't have the government doesn't have time to really be dealing with this and promoting these agendas. Um, so that's a problem. But the bigger problem is, and shout out to Kevin Samuels, God rest his soul, is womanism is starting to rear its ugly head, because womanism doesn't cost any money, and the womanism is coming with those people because it's seeped into the universities and the colleges, especially if you speak English. That's starting to become a problem down there. And when I say womanism, I mean this
Yeah.
like, you go girl, not necessarily you don't need no man, but like more of like I'm a woman, hear me roar type.
Oh Lord.
That's starting to seep in a little bit, and it seeped in enough for me to notice, like kind of like being a little bit more combative with things that are naturally that you would expect naturally. And I noticed this even from my trip in 2016 up until now. It's enough to notice the shift in a place like Rio and Sao Paulo, to be honest. But it's easy to overcome when you're that guy, but it's still something that is a little bit concerning. The tattoos is a big example, right? I'm starting to notice that a lot of these girls are littering themselves in tattoos like they are here in the West.
Wow.
And it is incredibly frustrating to see such an incredibly beautiful girl. Don't get me wrong. I like, if the tattoos are properly placed, I'll accept it. But a lot of the times they're not, right? And they talk about the expression and all of this kind of stuff, and they're starting to use that kind of star sign and I'm a Pisces and all that kind of nonsense. So it's starting to show, it's starting to rear its ugly head.
No. What is this, man? Can't believe this. I
It's still a
cannot believe this.
Listen, it's still very good. Like, as we get into the stream, I'll tell you many ways that we can combat this. It's still on our side.
Wow. So, okay, brother. Tattoo is red flag. Now, one thing that really makes me angry, that really irks me, that really gives me the ick, is the bullnose ring. We know when they put that bullnose ring in their nose.
They do it a
When,
lot
when,
too.
when- Whenever I see a woman do that, I check out quickly. I'm like, don't come near me. It's not
Right.
gonna happen.
Right.
Is that happening amongst the women in Brazil as well?
Yeah, a couple of the girls on the last trip, like maybe three of the girls that I ended up spending some time with, they had the bull nose ring. Still beautiful girls, but I don't get it either, man. Like, it's like, I'm not looking at the Chicago Bulls logo. Like, what's going on? Like I definitely understand the concern.
Oh my goodness. No, oh, I can't believe this, bro. Um, And also, the blue hair, the green hair, all that color in their hair, that's also a red flag. Because to me, you're a crazy woman if you're dyeing your hair all sorts of extravagant colors. Is that also a problem there in Rio?
Nah, no, not so much. Thankfully, it's there, but it's not. It's few and far between because that they still want to maintain the postcard, right? So the girls are still very conscious of the fact that they need to have a certain body look. They need to have a certain hair. Like they don't. It's not. It's not something that'll show itself often.
Okay, thank you, brother. I want to delve deeper into the womanism aspect here and
Mm-hmm.
the feminism stuff, right? Because I feel like it's very important for us to know how to navigate that kind of situation there.
Mm-hmm.
You pointed out how to spot one, right? What they say, how they look, etc., etc.
Yeah.
You know, are there particular spots in Rio where you're going to come across women like that and you should avoid that spot in general? Or are they all over Rio, these womanists and feminist individuals?
They're all over the place. They're all over the place. Just like kind of here, it's very covert. They know that it's frowned upon. They don't want to reveal themselves, but you ask certain questions, and based on the way that she responds, you will know, right? So you always ask open-ended questions when you're talking to the girl, and based on her long-winded answer, um, you're able to understand who you're dealing with a little bit more. But it's there, and it's if anything, it's actually a little harder to tell because they are mixed in with it's all I say it's an internal confusion because they still have the traditional values that are grown into them, but this modern era, especially with the social media, the way that it's been going, a lot of these girls, especially if she's in college, man, if she's in college and if she's like, man, I was dealing with a girl who's doing her master's. If a girl's doing her master's, honestly, she's a lot of them do their masters. If a girl's doing her master's, you'll have to really be very careful with the questioning because a lot of these
Oh,
girls value education, and like you meet a Brazilian, they're always in school, right? So you got to be very careful when you get to the level of masters and post grad. You have to really start asking questions because at that point they probably speak English, and that stuff at point that can be very concerning.
wow. Okay, this is very good, brother. Okay, so I got two follow-up questions for you, brother. What kind of questions you ask women to try and filter her out? Okay, she's a feminist, she's a womanist, I'm gonna avoid her. And in regards to these post-grad Brazilian women who are doing their masters, should we avoid them completely and go for women that work at Starbucks, coffee shops, women who come from humble backgrounds, like Fresh and Fit from Myron Gaines and Fresh Prince CLSA and
Myron
Fresh and
Fresh.
Fit. We don't care about your degree.
Yeah,
If she works at Starbucks, it's all good because she's feminine and submissive. So,
right.
so two questions for you there, brother. What's your criteria to filter out the feminists, and should we avoid educated women in Brazil?
I will answer the first one by saying one of the questions that I really like to ask is I'll ask like, what is your dream for your future? And the reason I ask what is your dream for your future is because when you're living in a country like Brazil, and I've noticed it here in Vancouver, there's a lot of Brazilians who've come from Brazil to Vancouver, and a lot of people from especially Asian cultures who have come over to Vancouver. And when you ask that question, I want to hear what I'm looking to hear is I'm looking for a family.
Hmm.
I want to be close to my family. I love my country. These are very important things to hear. But if the girl starts talking to you about, well, I would like to get my master's, I would like to maybe go to live in United States or Canada or move to Europe and these kind of stuff. I'm not. It's something you need to be aware of because that means she has had so much access to the outside world that you need to be careful with how you approach. And then I would ask a follow-up question, and I would say, okay, well, your relationships with your friends, like, don't even ask say relationship with your friend, just be like, oh yeah, I'm sure you have like really a lot of close friends here who you love in Brazil and would have be difficult to leave, right? And depending on that answer, you can really catch what kind of character this woman is. Oh, well, like, I don't have a lot of friends. I don't really, it's fine. I only have one friend who I'm close with. And it's like, well, you only have one friend. Women are social creatures. You say that in your head, right? Women are social creatures.
Mm,
Why aren't you friends with other people? Oh, well, we had a falling out here, Caddy. You know how it is. Oh, okay. So you really start to put together and say, well, maybe I have a little bit of a problem because maybe this person is not humble. She's difficult to deal with. She cannot
mm.
maintain her female friendships. Maybe she's friends with guys, and she'll be like, "Oh, well, like I asked a girl who I was dating one time in Brazil. I said, well, what do you miss your friends?" And then she's like, "Well, like there's one friend who I would miss. I think his name was João, and João, and she, I miss João, and blah 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 blah." She says, João, male friends. She's like, yes, and like he's my best friend, and nobody can tell me. And I was dating this girl, and I said, and then from that conversation, I said, oh, I made a fatal flaw. I made a fatal
That,
flaw, right? We all make mistakes. So
yeah.
that didn't end up going any further, thankfully. Great girl, she was a great girl. Still better than a lot of the girls that I would deal with here, to be honest. But just for your long-term plans, especially as a man who's on a mission trying to get to the next level, a girl like that just is no good for you.
Facts, brother. Facts.
Now, sorry, you
And
had a second question that I need to answer.
yes, the education. Should we avoid educated Brazilian chicks
I
completely?
don't I don't think so. I think you should date educated chicks. You should date all kinds of chicks. It's very important to date all kinds of girls. And I was making a very blanket statement. But I know plenty of girls who are like finishing their, especially if they're like, oh, a lot of the girls are like, oh, I'm advogado, like lawyer, right? It's so common. It's basically the undergrad of uh, of of Brazil. If a girl says she's advogado, like it's a turn on to me because that means that she's very into her education, but she could be very humble too. So it's just a matter of asking the right questions. The reason why I said the masters is because any usually the girls who I've interacted with who are doing the masters, they have a level of English intellect,
Hmm.
and the ability of English is not necessarily proficient, but it's high enough where they've had these eyes on the U.S. And when you have your eyes on the U.S. and you can see through the US and understand how the US culture is, it sucks you in. It sucks you in and it takes over. So you have to be very careful with those girls. That's the only reason
Wow.
why I said that.
Wow, brother, this is some spot on information here. Thank you, brother. Shout out to Mr. Almighty Ree for the $5 super chat. I know Brazil has the fittest girls on earth. How in shape do you have to be to pull? Do you have to look like a Greek statue or just don't be fat?
Just don't be fat. Just don't be fat. And again, even you can even be fat. You can even be fat, honestly. Um, you can even be fat and you can get the average Brazilian girl is not delusional like the average American, Canadian, Australian, UK, or other pick insert Western country name here, woman. They are different. They are different because the beauty standards are incredibly high. So every girl doesn't feel as if she's at the level. Like if an 8 here in Canada or in the UK, if you're in London, I heard yikes, like it's a ever since the
Terrible.
Brexit, it's very difficult, right? So,
Mm.
but an 8 in London um, is like a 9 in Brazil. No, a 9 in Brazil is like no, an 8 in London in Brazil would be like 5.
Wow.
It would be like a 5, but a Brazilian girl who is an 8 in Brazil is like a 9 in in the UK. So it's like if she's from interior of Rio or Brazil, she's in the interior spots. She ain't good. She's very attainable to the average man. She's very attainable to the average man. I'm just saying when you go to Rio in specific and parts of Sao Paulo and you go to the more affluent parts, that's when they start to understand because they are well traveled, their family has money. That's when you start to get a lot of that pushback. And I'm saying go for them as well because they can be good girlfriends for you too. But
Awesome.
you can pull a good girl. You can pull a ton of good girls from the interior of Brazil. Trust me, I know.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. Shout out to Mr. KW Lives in America for the $199 super chat. Probably can't call in, girl coming over in an hour. Okay, brother. Thanks for letting me know, brother. Appreciate you. So next question for you, brother, is in terms of looks and body shapes in Brazil, right?
Mm-hmm.
Brazil is known for having stunning women. I've not been there. You've been there.
Mm-hmm.
Can you confirm to me, right? Is an average Brazilian woman really as good looking as they say? And body wise, are they packing the best bodies in the whole of South America or even the world? Break it down for me, brother.
Man, my answer might be a little unpopular, and I don't want to shout out to my Brazilians. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful women in Brazil. My favorite type of body, but by far the most beautiful women in that continent are Colombian women. Um, so Brazil is number two in my opinion. But number one, I have to give it to Colombia. That being said, what you can get exactly what you want in Brazil. They're beautiful. They're beautiful. There's something about the Brazilian spirit which is a lot more enticing than other cultures, in my opinion. There's a certain spirit to them that you can't go ignored, especially when they're in their natural state in the sun. There's something magical about the women. They're kind. It's just the only reason why I say what I'm saying right now is there's been this in recently because when I first started going in 2016, they didn't have so much of a culture of fast food, and that has really changed. Like girls, they love McDonald's in Brazil, and people are starting to gain significantly more weight. They're holding a lot more weight than they used to, um, which is unfortunate. Um, but they are. I'll tell you one thing though: they are still very, very, very beautiful. So that's just something I noticed.
Okay, thank you, brother. And brothers, can we please get the likes up? We have over 90 people watching. Please hit that like button immediately. That's so incredibly important for this channel and for the stream. Please hit that like button, likes up, okay?
Get the likes
Just
up.
press the
Get
like
the
button.
likes up.
Thank you, bro. So interesting comments there. Okay, thank you, brother, for your transparency. Much appreciated. We value the truth here on this channel.
Brother. It hurts my heart to say it because I the last couple of trips that I've been there, I've noticed this shift of like, oh, I'm just gonna get a hamburger from McDonald's. That wasn't a thing back in 2016 and 17 as much as it is now. So that's kind of just where I'm at with that.
Wow, brother. Let me go left here. I'm going to sidetrack a bit. I don't normally ask this question, but recently Brazil's had the elections, right? And I'm sure
Yeah,
you've probably been following it, right?
I have.
So in your opinion, right, so for us to get the best woman and for the woman's mindset to be straightforward and normal and not like these American clowns, okay? So should Brazil be run by a left-wing party or a right-wing party for the sake of the femininity and submissiveness of the woman? I want to hear your thoughts, brother.
I think leftism has ruined the world. I'm not for left or right politics. I live my life and I live it to the best the way that I can. I think they're both scams. but you need to be in a more conservative state of mind when you're dealing with intersexual relationships.
Hmm.
And I think intersexual, I think, is that the wrong word? When sexual relationships, you need to be dealing with more of a conservative mindset.
Yes.
And with this most recent election, I'm very concerned because another thing people don't know about Brazilians is they are really into the politics. And to me, it's almost like a religion, like it is in the UK and in America and in Canada. It is very concerning. And a lot of these girls, naturally, they're gravitating towards the left policies, which
No.
eventually is going to start promoting the Fism stuff and all of that garbage. It's very concerning to me. Um, this last election, it made me sick because the world and the state that the world is going in terms of economy and stuff like that, it's only going to widen the gap. Really, it's not going to, handouts never work like we've noticed in the Western world, and they're moving in that direction, and it's concerning.
Oh no. Wow. Okay, brother. Thank you for your comment there. I do agree as well. I looked at his policies and who is in his cabinet. Brazil might become super left wing to the point where it rivals the Democrats in the US. And we see what's happened with the Democrats, what they push out. That could be coming soon, very, very soon to Brazil. And the woman will obviously adopt the leftist policies in the West.
That's right.
I think brothers have to be very careful about Brazil, brother. Do you agree with me?
I think you need to be very careful going forward. I still think for you to find what you're looking for, you got to get that. You got to get that plane ticket because you will find it in Brazil. It's there, but it's going to take a very long time before Brazil can even fully get into it. But you're going to start noticing a little bit more pushback in the next decade to come. Definitely when it comes to dealing with women in Brazil.
Awesome. Thank you, brother, for your transparency there. So, next question for you, brother, is more about the language now.
Hmm.
So, you would therefore recommend brothers to learn Portuguese. English ain't gonna be the wave out there in Brazil. Yeah, you can meet with English women who speak English, but more likely gonna be feminists and have Western ideals. You want the pure prototype Brazilian chick, you gotta learn Portuguese without a doubt. Is that what you're telling me, brother?
Yes, yes, and even with the girls who speak English, the level of Portuguese, just showing that you're willing to learn the language. You don't have to be perfect. But I noticed in my last trip that me being better at the language, I was able to really communicate with girls on a different level than I ever have before. And you notice it. It's very clear in your interaction with the women. They're much more comfortable. They're much more loving to you because they see that you're taking the initiative to learn about their culture, and it shows a lot. You become a little bit more of a renaissance man to them.
Hmm.
This guy is a Westerner. He's a foreigner. He speaks my language. He's a good looking guy. He's in some good decent shape. You know, he has some money. And again, you don't flash your money. You just show it through the lifestyle. You know, you get when I was down there, I had a great apartment, living in a great area. I Ubered everywhere because for me it's cheap, but for them, like for example, I had a girl living in about an hour away. I forgot the name of the city, but I would Uber her. I'd see her once a week. I'd Uber her there and back. It cost me $25. So for you guys, that's about that Canadian for you guys about what, £17
Yes.
at the time. Like that's nothing there and back. It's an hour. It's a 2 hour commute altogether. 1 hour to me, 1 hour back.
Wow, that's cheap.
That's cheap, but to her, that's like, oh my goodness. And then when she arrives, we go out for a dinner. I don't drink alcohol anymore, thankfully. But if you have a couple of drinks and you know, like a tapa or like a like a nachos or some wings or something, and maybe even like dinner, it costs you no more than, for you in Britain, it costs you no more than 30, not even 40 pounds, maybe like 30 pounds, you know? And then like,
Damn.
of course you make your move. And like, I won't lie, I was there for 2 months. I had a 100% success rate when it came to first night encounter. It was incredible to, when I say first night encounter, like going out having a good time. That's what I mean.
Wow. Amazing, brother. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, please cash up and super chat your questions. Okay. Or wait until we open up the phone lines. Okay. Thank you, brothers. So awesome, brother. Next question for you, brother, is so apart from Brazilian women, brother, are
Hmm.
there any other groups of women out there in Rio that are also checking heavy for brothers? Is it the Japanese? Is it the Russians? Is it the Colombians? Is it the maybe South Koreans? From what you saw right there, right? A good group of other races or nationalities of women, and were they checking for brothers?
Are you talking about like if we're talking Japanese, are we talking about Japanese from the mainland Japan, or are we talking about Japanese from Brazil?
I'm going to touch on Japanese later on in Brazil, but I'm talking about like international people.
International women.
Yes.
They're all on holiday. They're all checking for brothers. I have had, when I was there and I couldn't interact with the Brazilians in the way that I wanted to interact with them. I was going out with Argentinian girls on holiday.
What?
I was going out with Russians. I was going out with a lot of Dutch women on holiday. They became, for me, that was a staple for me, because I said, this is great. I didn't know they're checking for brothers like that. So I was in heaven. No, the girls on holiday are always looking for a good time. I don't waste my time with American or Canadian, or I'm not British, but so I will waste my time on the British. But like Canadian, American, even like some Australians, I just won't waste my time. I go for a little bit more of the exotic, and it was wonderful.
Wow. And how were you meeting these other nationalities of women, like the Russian women, etc., etc.? How were you meeting them? Were you cold approaching them? Was it for the dating apps, or what happened, brother?
Nah, so when I was down in Brazil, the dating apps are great, fabulous everywhere around the world if you know what you're doing and you're getting selected. But what we were doing in Brazil is we had a plan. So I had my apartment, my friend had his apartment. He was American, I was Canadian. I said, okay, well, let's rent a room for, like, let's say 2 nights at one of the hot hostels. So you walk around one night, you see what hostels kind of bump in the area, which one, like, some have more than others. And the ones that have a lot of people, looks like it's having a good time, parties. We would just rent a room, a dorm bed for 2 nights. It costs maybe like 10 quid for you guys,
Hmm.
for the 2 nights. And we're not staying there the night, but we're going there in the evening to mingle. And because we know what the scene is like already, because we're there in Brazil, we thought, oh, yeah, yeah, I'm staying here, like, oh, yeah, my apartment is ready already. So, like, I just got another 2 nights just in case, but you're not staying there. You bring them out to some of the good hot spots, Lapa. I'll put that in the chat. Where's the other? Pedro de Sal on certain nights. You just bring them to those spots. Everybody's great. They're happy that you brought them to this nice place. And then you pick who you want, right? You pick who you want. You guys have already developed a connection through the hostel. And then, like, oh, yeah, I'm actually going to head back to my apartment, because apparently it's ready. You pretend that you got a text or something, and then be like, yeah, you already have things set up, have a couple drinks already there, and say, hey, I mean, you guys want to come back, come back. So a lot of the times they come back, everybody's having a good time, they're comfortable, make sure they're comfortable, and from there it's just, you know what to do. So
Wow.
that's kind of how I did it. And I only went for Eastern Europeans at that time, because that's what I was looking for, Eastern Europeans and Dutch.
Mm.
But I'm always open to others.
It's funny you mentioned the Dutch. I've been trying to get Holland intel for a minute now, but I'm just hearing that, yeah, these Dutch women have an affinity for brothers. I'm
It was
trying to
a
get
shock.
that intel. It's
It
a
was a
shock,
shock
yeah.
for yeah. And
That's Karen, bro.
they're built good. They're built very good, actually. Very strong built women. It was incredible.
Wow, yeah, they're quite tall, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna do my best to get Holland intel for next year. Brothers in the chat, if you've been to Holland before, the Netherlands, please reach out to me. I'm trying to get that intel for the brothers. I'm hearing very good things about Holland. So let me ask this, brother, right?
Hmm.
And it's about the Japanese Brazilian woman in Brazil. You know, a very, very peculiar and particular group of women that look amazing. Brazilian body, Japanese face, right? Did you come
Yes.
across them in Brazil
Several.
and were they checking for brothers?
I came across several. And yeah, if you're speaking, especially if you're speaking Portuguese and you're in the culture, um, they're checking for brothers. They're checking for brothers. They're there. They're available. There's no barrier. There's what I said barrier to entry. Like here, I have a little bit of a barrier to entry because I'm outside of the culture. But they're in that culture, and Brazil is a very open culture. So if you're in that culture and you speak their language, at that point it's building attraction, and once you've done that, it's a whole you're in. So
Wow.
it's a simplified process as opposed to what I had to do here in order to get Japanese girls. I'm getting girls directly from Japan. I don't speak Japanese. I know their culture to a limit, and it becomes a little bit more trickier for you to get them. But in Brazil, they're part of the Brazilian culture, so it's very very easy for you to amalgamate yourself into the culture, and the girls are receptive to that.
Let me ask this, brother, right? And how special and how good looking are these Japanese Brazilian women? I mean, like just picturing a Japanese face in a Brazilian body with the curves. That's like that's like
I don't get it.
the greatest thing I've ever seen, brother. Break it
I,
down for
I
us, brother.
don't I don't understand. I was very confused. I'm like, where did that come from? Like, where did the I'm like, is she a dancer? Like I didn't I don't usually see them with that um kind of like a weird way black girl lower half. So I was very surprised to see what I saw, and I was happy to see what I saw. So especially on the beach.
Amazing. And you saw them with black men holding hands with black men, being around black men.
I saw it in Sao Paulo. I saw it in Sao Paulo. Not so much Rio. They're there, but I just didn't come across a lot of people.
Hmm.
But I would see it in Sao Paulo. I saw a couple of people who were with brothers who were of the Asian persuasion. So, um, but yeah, it's not uncommon. One of my best friends, he spends a lot of time in Brazil. Now he's not a brother, but like he's not Brazilian, and he's been with Japanese Brazilians quite a bit.
Let me ask this, brother. Where in Sao Paulo, what neighborhood do we go to find these Japanese Brazilian women that love black men? Is it certain spots, certain clubs? Give us a whole breakdown of the Japanese Brazilian phenomenon.
So Sao Paulo, I was only there for a day and a half.
Hmm.
So I'm not the greatest with Sao Paulo. I only got a chance to go to the main area in Sao Paulo. I forgot the name of the spot now, but I went to the mall and I was just walking around because I had to see it before my flight that night. So I didn't get a full on grasp of Sao Paulo. I apologize, brother. I wish I can give you more. But I was happy to see these. I saw three couples, three brothers with three Asian girls who they were speaking Portuguese, so I just assumed they were Japanese.
Wow.
And they're all
Fantastic.
speaking Portuguese together. And those are three Brazilian brothers.
Wow. And that goes on to my next point there, brother, right? How are, is there any jealousy towards Western black men from our black Brazilian brothers or Brazilian men in general as to, okay, look at these American black dudes or Canadian black dudes coming here to take our woman. Did you get any side eyes, any sort of animosity
They
from
don't care.
Brazilian
No,
men?
these guys don't care. These guys are after the foreign women too. So it doesn't even matter. They're after the Brazilians and they're after the foreigners. So we all live in this. There's plenty to go around. We all live in this harmony situation. We try to help where we can with each other, and it's all in all a good experience, right? There's no need to be jealous. So these guys, a lot of these guys in Brazil, they're dating like 3, 4, 5 girls at a time. They have plenty. They don't have problems. It's not like here. It's not this a destroyed masculinity is not destroyed like it is in the West.
Amazing. Thank you, brother. Um, Shout out to Mr. Davey Wheeling for the $10 super chat, just showing support. Thank you so much for the support, David Wheeling. It means a lot to me. Thank you, brother. Hope all is well with you. Shout out to Yu Yu Hakusho, Spirit Detective. Great anime, by the way. I remember that
Amazing
back in the
anime.
day.
Amazing.
Classic, man. The ray gun. Shout out to Yu Yu Hakusho for the $2 super chat. How easy is it to get around on English Shalom for you, brother?
I won't lie, it's not easy. It's not easy, brother. It's not. It's not. It outside, especially outside of the especially outside of South Zone of Brazil, of Rio in specific. It's when I'm walking around, I'm seeing English speakers. I'm like, dang, like I don't know how I was able to deal with that for so long. I was so grateful that I had a level of Portuguese that I can get around with because I was feeling anxiety for them. Ain't nobody out here speaking English like that.
Damn. Thank you, bro, for that honesty. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you. You have to show for the support. Fantastic, brother. So, brother, let me sidetrack a bit. You mentioned that in Rio and Brazil in general, masculinity, there's no crisis there like we see in the West, where they're trying to take away masculinity away from men, trying to make women the more masculine person in the relationship and men the more feminine part. That's not happening in Brazil, right? Men are masculine, men dominate, men let men rule, right?
Yeah. So in Brazil, because it's been such a struggle for a lot of people for so long, like majority of countries in the world, they work more on the man provides certain traditional things and the woman helps out because she can't stay home because that's not they're a good enough economy where it's not realistic for a woman to really just be a housewife unless you have certain level of money that you're bringing in per month, right? So the
Mm.
woman does go work, but she adheres to her feminine roles, and the man adheres to his masculine roles the best that he can. And the women appreciate that. And a lot of women know I hate to say this, I don't want to sound rude, but a lot of women kind of know where they're at in the pecking order, right? Like if you're a 6, you know you're a 6 and you're happy to get what you get.
Mm.
So it's not this whole girls you're dealing with here, they're a 6, but they believe that they act like they're an 8 or a 9, and they want to just go out and meet and oh, he's not good enough. He's not making $100,000, but she's making 30. You know what I mean? It's just like you don't run into these delusions as much as you would in the Western world, which makes it alone worth it for you to get your passport and take a trip.
Fantastic. Awesome, brother. Awesome. Shout out to the boss, Mr. Joseph Ashby, for the $20 super chat. Thank you, brother. Welcome back, Joseph. Hope you're well. Support, support, support. Yes, indeed. Support the
Thanks,
movement,
Joseph.
brother. It means a lot to me, Joseph. Yes, brothers, please support the movement. Cash app, super chat. That'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you, Joseph. So let's carry on, Benzi. Another question for you, brother, is, dealing with different women at once. How common is, what's the word for it? Polygamy in Brazil. Is it acceptable for the man to have a main chick but 5 side chicks? But obviously, the woman can't have more than one boyfriend. She has only one guy, but the boyfriend, has multiple girlfriends. Is that acceptable in Brazil?
So I guess we're talking about polygyny then in that case, where the man has multiple partners and the woman is monogamous to the man. Are we
Yes.
talking about, okay, so it is not easy to pull off anywhere, and that includes Brazil. So when I say it's not easy, I'm talking about your main girl knowing that you're out here dealing with other girls. There's a certain level of status, there's a certain level of convincing, there's a certain level of comfort in your relationship with said woman before you can really even consider getting to that point. But as it pertains to maybe, I guess, fooling, not fooling, but kind of really fooling the girl into thinking that you're in a monogamous situation, but really you are not in a monogamous situation and have another girl and another girl and another girl on the side. I know a lot of boys, a lot of my friends are doing that out there. Majority of them, to be honest.
Damn.
But the girls are out here doing that too. Some of them.
What?
Yeah, man. Some of them are out here doing that. Some of them are out here doing that. So you got to be very careful with the partner you select.
Okay, thank you, brother. Shout out to Spirit Detective for the $2 super chat. He says, "How often did you run into crime there?"
I had zero problems, but I had zero problems because I'm a 6'2" or 188 centimeter male, black, tall. Um, so for a lot of them, I was the danger, right? So I didn't run into so many problems, but you need to be on your P's and Q's. Obviously, you don't want to be walking through certain favelas at nighttime. Um, and really, actually, people don't know, but favelas are probably, in a lot of the favelas, are probably the safest spot you can be because you're not allowed to commit crime in the favela. The people who run the favela will create issues for the people who create problems in the favela. So a lot of people don't really recognize that it's when you go outside of the favela onto the mainland where you start running into those kind of issues. Unless
Mm.
obviously you're in a favela, you're an unknown person, you're causing trouble, well then you're asking for it, right? But other than that, no. But you still need to be careful. I say this all the time. I've traveled to about 26 countries now. And the most dangerous country I've been to is the United States of America.
Damn.
So, I mean, take that for what it's worth. But it's like, I mean, people will be like, "Isn't Brazil dangerous?" And I'm uh, sorry, you're in LA. Like, LA, LA is not safe. So that's just kind of how I look at it. You just need to know what you're doing. Um, Limit your drinking. Go out with friends. Do not get drunk to the point where you're incoherent. Um, Take Ubers when you can. And they have another one called Novente Nove, which means 99. It's kind of like a secondary Uber. So you know exactly what path you're on, right? And
Mm.
you set yourself up against these problems.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. Shout out to Mr. Spirit Detective again for the $2 super chat. How did you learn Portuguese?
Mm, sorry, brother. Portuguese for me has been a long and tough battle, to be honest. I'm still not fluent, but I'm good enough to get around and interact in social situations. Um, I first started by taking a course in my local city where I was living at the time. These classes are not cheap, but typically you would take a class maybe once a week. And you'd spend maybe like once a week, you spend about a month, you spend about $100. So it is quite expensive. But sorry, brother, can you hear me? Hello?
Awesome.
Hello?
Thank you, brother.
Can you hear me?
Much appreciated. Loud and clear, brother.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, you start studying. You cut out for a sec. Sorry. You start studying, you work hard, you work on it, and there's certain applications, Hello Talk, where you can interact directly with people, and you start video chatting with people who you meet on the app, and it's an effort, but boots on the ground, getting there and interacting with the locals and taking a local class, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, you're definitely right. I think being in that country is much easier.
Yeah.
Like even when I'm learning a new language right now, I'm doing well, but I feel like if I'm in the country, I'm going to school every day, I'm interacting with the locals, I pick it up easier because I'm not speaking the language every day. I speak English every day, so it's a
Mhm.
bit hard, you know.
You're learning Japanese.
Yes,
Oh my guy.
it's tough, man. It's really tough,
It is.
but all I can do is just keep pushing. Thank you, bro. Um, Next question for you, Benzi, is body count. And I think body count is particularly very important here because Brazil, from what I see, is a very out there culture. They get down. Okay. Would you say the average Brazilian woman has a high body count? And can we also find virgin and low body count women in Rio? Or is that impossible? Be real with me, brother.
um Rio is an international city that is very known for women, beaches, and weather. So, to be honest with you, when you're talking about the postcard of Rio and certain bios, like certain areas, body count's going to be higher. Girls are just looking for a good time, not a long time. They want to interact with international and foreign men. Smart men, strong men, rich men are all going over there to flock and find girls to have a good time with, and the girls want to have a good time as a result of that because they get a lot of those benefits. So to answer your question, there's a lot of body count because there's a lot of sex going on with a lot of the women. That being said, as you navigate and go further out into the other cities, especially some of the cities that I spoke of earlier, São Gonçalo, Maricá, Ponta Negra, etc., the girls are a little more humble. They come from more regular, lower middle to middle class incomes or poor, and they're not necessarily interested or have the time to really push up their body count. So there's plenty of girls in Brazil who I would say, based on their behavior, have a lower body count, under 10. Um, you can just feel it in their spirit. You can just feel it when you interact with them on a day-to-day basis. They're more interested in monogamous relationships and building a family, like what they experienced growing up. So it all depends on where you're in. If you're in Copacabana, and like even a lot of those favelas surrounding Copacabana and stuff, a lot of those girls are trying to get a come up because of their situation stuff, which is natural. They use their leverage their beauty to get the highest status male, which is what we know of hypergamy, right? They're doing their job and they're doing it well enough, but that's going to take a level of sexual promiscuity and sexual attracting certain men in order for you to find that one guy who will be willing to stay with you, if that answers the question.
Yes. Thank you, bro. Um, Next question for you, brother, is can I find a virgin in Brazil? Is that kind of impossible because of the sexual culture there?
No, you can actually. A lot of Brazilian girls that I know, they didn't lose their virginities until a little bit later on, like around 18, 19. So you definitely can. I just think you need to be more interested in it. Becomes a lot easier for you to find that when you're willing to venture further out into different cities. Not even so much in the state of Rio or Sao Paulo, but if you start going up into the north and the interior and other spots in Brazil, it starts to get a lot more conservative, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
it's very, very, very possible. Virgin, again, that's tough anywhere nowadays, unfortunately, in majority of the countries, but it's still very possible.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. Next question for you, brother, is are Brazilian women wifeable? if so, from what you saw, what makes a wife? What wifeable qualities did they show you? What they do for you that made sure, like, okay, these women out here are wifeable. I could see myself marrying a Brazilian woman in the future.
They are. They are actually very, very wifeable, a lot of them. Even, you know what, as crazy as it sounds, even some of the ones that are, what's the word I'm looking for? Not as desirable through having the masters, a great comprehension of the English language, like these kind of people, even they're wifeable because marriage in Brazil is not damaged like it is in the West. So the risk is not as big. And if a girl is willing to say yes to you and you're telling her we're staying here, she knows that the rules with you staying here means that she doesn't get those Western benefits of divorcing you and getting this, that. All of that kind of stuff is kind of hashed out before the wedding. The laws aren't the same outside of the child support, but even then, with the conversion rate, it's not that big of a deal for you as a Western man. So it's not that big of a risk for you. You don't have to worry about getting divorce graped or any of these kind of problems that we experience in the Western countries. But the key is to be married in that country. And there
Mm.
needs to be a plan. If you're back in Canada, UK, America, Australia, you've got to be there for a couple months and you're going back and forth, back and forth. She doesn't go there. She goes there for Christmas. She goes there to visit the family maybe once or twice a year where you can show that they're a couple. And then most of the time, you're only in that country to make some money and head back to South America.
This is fantastic, brother. Awesome, awesome. So I'm assuming like divorce is quite low there in Brazil, or if it is, if it does happen, you're not at risk of losing everything. It's more fear in a divorce proceedings in Brazil.
Yeah,
Have looked into that, brother.
I've actually seen it with people that I know. I have some friends who are lawyers and are doctors, and some who are married, some who are not. So divorce happens all the time in Brazil, but the difference is, like you said, the system is not the same as the West, or it doesn't mirror it. So yeah, child support can be a little annoying if you're a high net worth individual, but again, everything is hashed out before the wedding, right? So you both made the kid, so it's 50-50 split in terms of cost for the most part. And alimony and these things are not big problems there. So it's a clean marriage. Now a lot of the times what I would say again is, for me, if I'm getting married, I position it as a union under God, and I have no desire for the state to be involved in my union with my woman.
Mm.
So a lot of men should adopt that, especially when they're coming from Western countries. A lot of time they'll agree because they're getting a certain level of lifestyle. And
Mm.
it's not taking advantage of these women or nothing like that, but you can truly have a more loving relationship with the woman when you know that that kind of stress is not put on you. You can invest a lot more into your relationship, knowing that the woman was willing to accept that without signing a ridiculous piece of paper that involves the state that will ruin you if you were
Mm.
to leave. And then the relationship becomes a lot more loving. And that's what you see in those countries. You see the loving relationships between the two people because the man is not constantly worried about his wife leaving. And the wife doesn't really have that much of an incentive to leave the man because a lot of the
Mm.
men don't make money like that. So, yeah, you'll
Oh,
get some child support, but it's easier for you to work it out and stay with your family.
wow. Had to clap there, bro. Had to
Right?
clap there. I love the idea of marriage, and that's why I'm pushing spiritual marriage over a actual state marriage. And maybe I need to do a stream on that or video because I think that's very important. As Westerners, we have the leverage, so use your leverage, use your status, use your money to mold your own marriage. Don't do it through the state. Do it spiritually, so you won't get screwed over if it
That's
does
right.
happen.
That's right.
Fantastic, beautiful. So next question for you, brother, is So Brazilian women, right? How susceptible are they to Western culture? And I mean this right. So if I was to take a Brazilian chick to America and the UK, will she change her ways to the Western ways, or will she keep in her Brazilian state and culture?
Um, no, she will change. I believe women are very easily influenced
Mm.
by their surroundings. So I do believe she will change, and not only will she will change very quickly. And I don't think that it's in any interest. It's not in the best interest of any thinking man to allow himself to run into those problems with a woman who he loves, admires, and wants to have his children. So I think that, to answer your question, I believe, based on what I have seen even here in Vancouver, it will take a toll on these women. It'll do it fast, not slow, and it'll become a bigger headache for you sooner than later, to the point where your relationship will probably end up ending.
Wow, wow. So this remote work, this remote lifestyle where I'm pushing IT and you live in her country is the best way forward. Live in their countries, don't bring it back to the West.
Do not bring it back to the West. I'm completely agreeing with you on that. You you have to you have to leave them there. You have to leave them there, or put bring your life over there. It cannot be here in the West. I hate to even admit that, but it is what it is, right? We've seen a large enough sample size in marriage and relationships in these countries. It doesn't work. It's broken. And if you're a smart man, you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. And if you've done it already, God bless your soul. Just protect yourself as best as possible. That's it.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, brother. Next question for you, brother, is are Brazilian women conservative or are they liberal in their thinking, from what you saw out there?
It's weird because their thinking have become, a lot of the women have become more liberal in their thinking. I think that's natural for women, to be honest. But the way that they have grown up still has them hold on to conservative values, even when dealing with them in the Western world, which means that even when you're dealing with one of these more liberal women even when you're dealing with them here in the Western world, they're still like, man, I'd rather date a Brazilian girl. I'd rather date, because they're still, their feminism is so much lighter than your average Western girl that it makes it more beneficial for you to to be with them anyway.
Hmm.
Like, it's still there, it's annoying, but like, there's some of them who are terrible to deal with, like absolutely unbearable. But majority of them, it's what I would call, it's a light feminism.
Okay, thank you, brother. Next question for you, brother, is did you come across rich and wealthy women in Brazil, and were they checking for brothers?
Yeah, I did. They're mostly in the South Zone, like I said. Leblon, Ipanema, Copacabana, Leme, Botafogo, which is not Botafogo, Botafogo, and Barra da Tijuca, which is my favorite spot in Rio. Um, they're there. They're everywhere. To be honest, I didn't really interact. So I have friends who are doctors and lawyers and business owners who are females who I've interacted with who are good. Um, but I personally find them a little, not them in specific, but I find what they do, the crowds that they hang out with, I find them a little bit boring. So I interacted with them. Are they checking for brothers? They're checking for the best option available.
Hmm.
That is my answer. If you are a black man who is a Westerner or even a black Brazilian, you're doing well. You're that social guy. You're in shape. You're cute to her. She'll check for you, no problem. But
Awesome, brother.
in general, it just the juice for me and what I've seen, the juice is not worth the squeeze because a lot of the times they're just like it's like dealing. It's literally like dealing with a girl from the UK, and then at sometimes it's like I didn't leave the UK so that I can deal with a Brazilian girl who acts like a girl from the UK.
Facts, brother. Facts. So you mentioned your favorite spot in Brazil is the Bahia, Bahia. Is that what you said?
Baja, so Barra, so Ben Alpha Romeo Romeo Alpha.
Okay. Why is that your favorite spot? Is that in terms of the woman there because the women there love black men a lot, or is that for another reason?
No, it's for another reason. It's more so like it's more of the Miami type vibe when you're there. They have a lot of good condos. Brazil, if you've been to Rio, there's not a lot of housing that are more like modern looking houses. Baja gives you like a more of a modern type looking house. You know what I mean? It's more like like when you go to like more traditional places, they have more traditional types of housing. It's not as modern. The insides are not as quote unquote Americanized.
Mm.
Like like open concept and these kind of things. You get more of a modern style looking house in Baja, and I like the shopping malls there. So that they sorry, pardon me, I just coughed.
No worries, bro.
It's it's more of a vain reason why I like it.
Okay.
But the girls there are beautiful, man.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. Next question for you, brother, is religion. I'm guessing most Brazilian women are religion. They have they're most Christians or Catholics, right? Or are they atheists?
No, a lot of them are Christians and Catholics, but again, that atheism through the eminism and the womanism, that stuff is starting to creep up on the dating apps and starting to see that a little bit more than you would like.
Oh man, what's going
Coming
on,
in,
man?
like they're part of the allied forces, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Starting to see a lot of that.
Okay, brother. Thank you very much. Next question for you, brother, is social media. Is Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, OF, is that a problem there in Brazil with the woman?
Um Instagram, yes. TikTok, yes. OnlyFans, no. Not as much. It's
Okay.
there, but mainly it's with the working class, if you know what I mean by working class. Um, they're the ones who would be doing that. Um, Instagram's a problem everywhere and TikTok, but sorry, man. I still have this food stuck in my throat. I apologize. Um, but with Instagram, it's very telling actually. I use Instagram as a way to understand the girl's life a lot more than I would regularly, right? So naturally, if
Mm.
the girl has a private account, that's always a good sign. If she doesn't have a lot of followers, that's also a good sign. Sorry. But yeah, that's it is a problem though. I won't lie, it is a problem. Uh, the girls that I was interacting with though, none of them had huge followings like that. Like a lot of them, they're really better to interact with. I know sometimes it can seem a little like I'm breaking the dream, but they are a lot more pleasant to interact with. A lot of the girls are much better to interact with than your average Western girl. To be honest, like they're not fighting for Instagram followers. They're posting things on there about what they're doing for their job. They're posting about their family. They're posting, they'll send you memes and stuff like that. Like it's a much more, it's a much healthier interaction between a male and a female down there than here.
Awesome, brother. Let me ask this, brother, can you tell a Brazilian woman, right? Can you set your boundaries in a relationship and tell her, listen, no male friends, and can you delete your Instagram account or we can't be in a relationship? Will she accept that? Or, or would we get pushback, like we get from Western women when we have those kind of terms?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
Hmm.
Good question. Um, I'll say this: any girl that you're dealing with who has a problem with male friends is a girl you shouldn't be dealing with anyway.
Hmm.
Um, if she has a problem removing that male friend out of her life, why is she in your life? So to answer your question, I've never gotten to that point where I needed to even have that discussion because a lot of the Brazilian girls that I was dealing with don't have male friends like that. And if they have a male friend, he's of the um
Like other lifestyle.
that's correct. So these are things that I've never really needed to concern myself with because if she's unwilling to do it, there was the one that I was out with before, the one I was telling you who I was dating
Hmm.
for a little period of time, and I knew when she told me that she was unwilling to get rid of that guy. I said, "Well, this is not going to work." To close the Instagram is going to be a little difficult, though. I won't lie; it's going to be a little difficult. A lot of girls are not going to close the Instagram, even if they have 70 followers on the Instagram. They're not going to want to close it because it's just something they're addicted to. It's like asking a girl to stop using TikTok. She's gonna say no. She'll break her relationship so that she can sit there and get that dopamine. It's crazy to me.
Facts, man, facts. And even if she has alternative lifestyle as a male friend, I still don't want that. She's gonna have to cut him off, or we're not gonna date.
I, you
No
know,
male friends, absolutely.
I respect that. I respect that. I haven't gotten to that point yet with a girl, but yes, I think eventually I would have a problem with that anyway
Because
because you
I've
don't
heard
know.
some.
You
You
don't
don't know,
know
bro.
what
I've
that
heard some
person's
crazy
telling them.
stories.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've heard some crazy stories as to what's happened between both of them. I think, what? Nah, bro, could not be me. Nah, no male friends. Absolute, no way. It's not happening.
I have to agree. I have to agree.
Next question for you, brother, is: are Brazilian women, feminine and submissive? If so, right, what makes them feminine and submissive in your opinion? And to me, brother, the pinnacle of submissiveness is a woman that will bathe and moisturize you. Can we get that kind of submissiveness and femininity? Pink nails, long hair, smiling all the time, long dresses, pristine white teeth, clean, hygiene, and of course, bathing and moisturizing her man. Can we get that from a Brazilian woman, brother?
I think you can. I think you can get the bathing and the moisturizing is going to be a little more tough to get on a regular basis. But like, I don't see why any girl who loves and respects her man wouldn't want to do that for him at least sometimes anyway.
Mm.
So I think the bathing and moisturizing is a thing that you can get. Um, I think what makes them feminine is it's just when I was there, it was such a special connection that I had. I really hate to use those words, you know what I mean? But you know, I wasn't there for a long time, but I was there for a long enough time that you're able to really build and cultivate these good relationships with these ladies for the time that you guys are interacting. And of course, I didn't let them know that I was leaving. I made it kind of positioned it in a way that I was staying for the long term, which is, I wouldn't say it's right, but it is what it is. Um, it was really good. It was really good. Like when I would wake up in the morning, if they stayed the night, they're willing to make the bed. They're willing to make breakfast. Um, they, like I have a little bit of eczema, so any girl that I'm with, if she's not willing to apply the cream on my back and on my arms and stuff like that, I don't want to have anything to do with her. So I had zero problems with that with the Brazilian girls. That's just me because I'm after me giving you the masculine presence. I'm very, very socially aware with women. You're comfortable with me. If you're not willing to do that with me, then you shouldn't be in my life. You know what I mean?
Facts.
So, and you really feel that. Now, you need to be careful because a lot of, you need to make sure that the girl that you're hanging around with is not a working person, right? So, like,
Ah,
you really need to be careful with that, but you can read it on the energy. You can see it with the relationship that they have with their family. Like, even then though it's tough. Even then it's tough because sometimes they do have a great relationship with their family, but they just got to make that money, right? So, um, but it's a very genuine and special relationship. They like the man to lead, like kind of like the girls do here, but these girls actually like the man to lead. It's not conditional femininity. They are just feminine. You know what I mean?
yes. Fantastic. This is beautiful intel. Thank you, brother. I definitely agree with you. If she can't apply cream on you when it's a medical condition, what's she doing in your life? What's she doing in your life? I agree with that, brother. Shout out to Mr. Intellect for the $5 super chat. Thank you, brother. Atheism has nothing to do with womanism. It's simply not believing in imaginary gods of any variety or origin. I'm gonna disagree with you there, brother. I definitely don't
Can
believe God is imaginary. In my opinion, there is definitely a God.
can
The way
can
the
I
universe
that
works. Oh, God, bro. Yeah.
um the what's his name, intellect? I mean, just to speak to him direct, it's not about the fact that atheism has nothing to do with womanism. That's a problem. The fact that the womanism stuff is genuinely tied to an to a belief, a non-belief in God, whether you or me want to believe that God is there or not. The problem is typically girls who believe in God tend to be tend to move more traditionally in their ways and won't adopt things like womanism because they recognize that under their God, which is typically Catholic or Christian in Brazil, it's going to be it's going to conflict with their worldview and their value system. But when you completely absolve God from your life and become an atheist, then it's no problem for that person to adopt womanism,
Or
eminism,
anything else.
and
Yeah.
things like that. That's what it is.
Facts. Because, brother, intellect, right? You notice that most women that don't accept many things pushed out by the left and liberals and the media, they're more than likely religious or have some sort of belief system.
Mm-hmm.
It's only the women that I've come across in my life that believe everything, all this gender BS, all this alternative lifestyle BS,
Correct.
all that nonsense, right?
Correct.
They're all atheists. I've never met one that's I've met a few here and there, but they're confused. They're trying to be appeased and make people happy. But ones that don't adopt that, they're normally religious.
That's right.
That's from what I see. Would you agree with that, Benzi?
I would agree with that. And shout out to Intellect. Nobody's. It's good to get the pushback and open up the discussions broader. But I do agree. I do agree with what you're saying because it's again it has to do with a worldview. Um, I spent a little bit of time, not so much in the Middle East. I haven't had that honor of going to the Middle East, and I say honor very specifically, like the UAE countries and those ones who are actually doing things right. But I've spent some time in places like Morocco and some of the more religious spots in the world, and it is just a breath of fresh air to have people to have a culture that appreciates God. Whether you believe in God or not, you appreciate the value systems are embedded in the culture,
Mm.
and people navigate in a certain way within those cultures, and you can see the quality of not necessarily financially, but the quality of your spiritual well-being is so much better
Mm.
than here. Like in Morocco, they have a saying, "No money, no honey," right? And for us, that's considered no money, no honey. But for them, it's like if you don't have any money and you can't give back to people, then you need to work on yourself type of situation. You know what I mean? So
Mm, yep,
it's just a different mentality when you have a belief in God or a higher power than when you don't. Like in the West, which is crumbling right in front of our eyes.
absolutely. Thank you, bro. Great breakdown. Next question for you, brother, is the clubs and bar scene in Rio and Brazil. What kind of women do you meet there? Are these women for the night, or can you find wifeable, respectable women? Keep it real with us, brother.
I'll keep it real with you, man. You can find a wifey in those spots. It's just part of their
Oh,
culture. It's just part of their culture. They're just out there to have a good time. Um, like if a girl's just out there with her girlfriends and friends and they're just having a good time, and a lot of the time they just kind of stick to themselves in groups because of the safety aspect. And if you approach confidently with kindly and she's into you and you're into her and you guys have a good conversation and you go out a couple of times, that can become your wife. That can become your wife. It's very common for that because of the culture. People interact. They're into interacting. Street parties. It's a tropical place. Lapa is a big spot where you can really mingle with a lot of people. Again, a lot of the time it is hookup, but you can find some incredible women in these spots.
damn. Amazing. Thank you, brother. Um, Next question for you. And is there any clubs and bars you recommend, the names, if you remember, that were really good for you in Rio?
Um, Not really, because I went to Lapa, which has a lot of that's kind of the party spot where you have a lot of the things going on. Um, and then for the most part, like for me, it's not so much going to the bars and the clubs, but it's more so just like meeting people, meeting people in social situations. That's kind of where I thrived in Brazil. There's a couple restaurants that I can see in Ipanema. I don't necessarily remember the name of them though, but like I can't really recommend any bars. I can just recommend going to spots like Lapa, Pedra do Sal, which is what I like, and some of the other parties. But when you're in Brazil networking, which is what I'll do next time, I have a good friend of mine who's out there and he speaks Portuguese now, and he's networked so much over the last 2 years that he gets invited to a lot of these cool parties out in different spots where you're interacting with a lot of different people, and it becomes a lot more of a fulfilling experience when you get invited to those kind of parties.
Awesome, brother. Thank you very much. Do me a favor, brother. Can you type in those spots that you mentioned
Yeah,
in the
apologies.
private chat? And yeah, and I'll post in the live chat for brothers to see. So while you do that, brother, next question for you, brother, is what one of the best places to meet Brazilian women? You know, what I mean by this is it the library? Is it Starbucks? Is it the park? From what you saw out there, brother.
From what I saw out here, out in Brazil, is again that spot Lapa, and Pedra de Sal, when it's going on, is a very, very, very good spot to meet foreign women and local Brazilians. Um, the library, not so much. Like I went to a library once, right? I'm not saying it's not a place to meet, but like it's just not common. From what I saw when it comes to meeting people. A lot of times where you can meet the people, I don't ever suggest meeting people on the beach. I'm not saying you can't do that. I just don't think it's a very effective strategy. Uh, I think where you can meet people a lot too is if you're actually going to different events. Brazil's a very international city, so there's a lot of different events that you can get invited to. And I tell people go to hostels. Like a lot of the hostels will have like events that are open to the people in the hostel and people outside of the hostel. So you get tickets to those events and you just mingle with the local people who are there. You mingle with the foreigners, and you just build up a network that way. It's very, very, very easy to meet people in Brazil. Hello Talk, that app that I was telling you about, you can meet a lot of friends on there. You can meet a lot of women. It's a dating app that people don't even know is a dating app. Instagram, make sure you have a proper Instagram, and then look at spots that are tagged, like in Rio, right? For example, there's a place called Pau. Oh my God, I'll butcher Pau de Açúcar, right? Which is like it's like more of like a lookout point with like sunsets and stuff like that, right? So you go to Pau de Açúcar, and then you look at the tag and you look for people who went there, and then you just click on it, and then you DM the girl, right, through Instagram. Send her something like Rio question mark or Pau de Açúcar question mark, and then of course have a good Instagram and do it with enough people. You'll get a couple replies, and you can set up a date and things like that. So that's kind of where the mall. You can meet girls at the mall. I met plenty of girls at the mall. I go into like a Zara, the worker there, talk with her. Um, oh, could I say one more thing?
Of course.
Um, the open market. I didn't do this in Rio. I did this in another city, and it was very successful. They have a lot of places where they have like open markets where you can buy like fruit and like different items for family members if you're going as a tourist and you're going home. I met a lot of girls in those small markets who are working like behind the cash or working in a toy store or something. I just like start speaking to her and like, oh yeah, we talk, we're laughing. Oh yeah, I'm a foreigner, but I live here and things like that. And then you just kind of say, oh, I would like to go out with you sometime, and make sure it's man to woman. And I want to go out with you, take you out. I think you're beautiful. And if she's interested, she'll give you her number, right? So those are the best way. Brazil, it's a lot more fluid. It's a lot easier for you to meet people in that country.
Thank you, brother. Can you type in the names, please? So Pedro, whatever, and Pedro Pasuka in the private chat. I hope I
Yeah,
said it right, brother.
yeah. My spelling is terrible, so Valdesuca,
And Pedro something.
Pedro the so Pedra. I think it's Pedra.
Okay. Thank you, brother. So next question for you, brother, is online dating. How was that for you in Rio? What apps did you use? And what was your success rate? And what kind of woman were you putting on these apps, websites? And give us the name of the apps or websites you used.
Brother, I was using. Believe it or not, I got the best. The best. Typically in Canada, Bumble is the best one for me. But in the rest of the world, Tinder is still the beast. So Tinder was where I was doing the absolute best numbers that I possibly can get were on Tinder. Um, there's a little bit of a strategy to it if you want me to go into it a little bit more.
Please do.
And let me be very clear. I was having zero success until I sat down with a friend I was introduced by a good friend of mine to this guy who was living there at the time, and he really broke it down for me. And right after that, I had immaculate success. Um, with Tinder, when you're there, you want to buy Tinder Gold, so it gives you unlimited swipes, and then it also lets you quickly filter through the people because it can show you who likes you and who doesn't, and you can also use the Tinder passport where you can go to different cities and grab different girls. And my friend was doing this before, but you can fly girls in from different cities if they're beautiful enough and have them spend a weekend with you, right? So um, with Tinder, it gives you more exposure when you pay for the Tinder Gold. You get to see the girls faster, and it just makes the experience enhanced to the point where I was there for 8 weeks, so 2 months, and I was lucky enough to spend good time with 10 people, right? So it's very possible. It's very, very possible. So
Okay, awesome, brother. Thank you very much. Next question for you, brother, is maybe this is for the patron. The we'll leave that for the patron, brother. This
Sure,
question,
sure.
or maybe we could touch upon it briefly, but we'll go into it deeply in the patron. The STD STI rates in Rio de Janeiro and Brazil,
Hmm.
was that a problem there at all?
Not that I'm aware of. I always advise people to be safe and smart, but that's not always easy when you're thinking with the wrong brain. So, um, to be honest with you, like I think it's a lot easier for you to get burned here in the West than it is in countries like that. And I think that's because of the social stigma over there in places like that. And
Mm,
because the let's be honest, right? Like the night work is more prevalent than it would be here and more available than it would be here.
mm,
So they need to encourage a more safe lifestyle because they can't afford for their bread and butter to be taken away by the government because of these becoming problems, right?
mm.
So I think a lot of people are just conscious and get checked often to make sure that they're all clean and good to go.
Fantastic. Thank you, brother. Next question for you now, brother, is are Brazilian women materialistic? Do they want the Gucci bag, Prada bag, like Western women want to? Are they more humble in what they want from a man in terms of material assets?
In general, definitely much more humble. I'm not saying they don't like those things, especially in the higher side of the cities, but they're much better. They're much better than here. Here it's a country. We're countries that are built off of material and consumerism. It's not so much there. It's not so prevalent there. Like like to them, getting the nice handbag is cool, but like having a nice apartment with a man who you love and respect is better. Having a baby is much better. Having a family around you is much better. Like that's the flex, not the Gucci bag and the Louis bag. It's having the good family, the kids, the cousins. That stuff is the flex, not all this other garbage that doesn't matter.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. Next question for you, brother, is tell me the bad parts about Brazilian women. Obviously, not all Brazilian women are perfect. So there must be some sort of attributes they share in common. It could be jealousy, it could be rudeness, it could be feistiness, like that Latina feistiness that brothers speak about in America. Any problems with Brazilian women that you've noticed?
Yeah, I did notice some problems. The jealousy for sure.
Mm,
Wanting to know everything that you're doing all the time, because they're genuinely concerned that you're going to step out, which is which is a warranted concern that they should have because a lot of people do it. Um, and just the the biggest concern I have with the Brazilian women, to be honest, is this politics and leftism. To be honest, that's something that's really starting to bother me. Um,
hmm,
because through all of that kind of garbage, you start to get bad policies, and through bad policies, you start to get bad mentalities, and through bad mentalities, you start to get the West.
yep.
And I'm very concerned about that starting to maybe become a more of a prevalent problem for the upcoming generations in that country, because I was blown away at how many people are so emotionally triggered by politics.
Wow.
I thought I was in America. I thought I was in America and I wasn't happy.
Wow. Thank you for your honesty, brother.
Yeah.
Next question for you, brother, is cold approaching. Uh, did you cold approach women in Brazil? Do you recommend brothers to cold approach women? If so, how do we speak to them? What's the open line? How do you make a successful cold approach? And did Brazilian woman cold approach you? And what kind of woman what kind of woman cold approached you? Break it down for us, brother.
I've never been cold approached in Brazil. Once, but that was years ago. I didn't know what I was doing, and I would just messed up the interaction. But cold approach, yeah, I think it's a great idea. I wouldn't say cold approach so much in the South Zone, just because these girls have some money, and like it's just a little bit more, in my opinion, right? This is just my opinion on this. It's just not as high of a ROI from something that's already a low ROI, because they'll probably find somebody else who they want to hang out with that evening anyway. It's just a lot of competition. But if you start going out to like the other zones, the North Zone, and actually, I will put another place where people should go. This is a place that I really enjoyed spending time. Um, Viva Isabel. It's an area. Well, it's further out. Um, you just go to like the samba schools and approach the girls and start talking to them and just say hi. Like, oh, I think you look. I think you look absolutely. I think you look cute. I think you're a beautiful girl, and I would love to just talk with you more and just talk with her. Just open up a conversation. Be like, oh yeah, like I'm looking for a samba school. I came here. Like, how long have your family been involved in the school? Like, do you dance samba? If you do dance samba, like, could you show me one day how to dance? Just open up a conversation. There's so much to talk about when you're in like certain settings. And you can just talk to her. They let her talk more. I'd say like let her talk 90% of the time. You just I'm more so asking questions and throwing some points there. And yeah, I think cold approach is great in malls. I think cold approach is really a good idea, to be honest. Um, but malls and like events like that, I think that's where you're gonna get the best. Again, I don't love doing it on the beach. I just don't think it's. I just don't think it's effective. Like it works. It has worked. I've done it before, but it's just not my favorite way. And a lot of people I've talked to, it's not their favorite way of approaching a girl. Of course, in the bars and clubs, that's also another great place. Like Lapa again, Lapa. I put it in the chat. When you go to Lapa, it's just streets on streets and bars on bars, and it's just like you can, if you're sociable enough, you can find someone, but you better speak that Portuguese.
Yes, so you have to know Portuguese to cold
You,
approach a woman.
you better speak that Portuguese, because the best ones that you're gonna find, who you can pick up and turn into a wife, she's not going to be an English speaker most of the time.
Yeah, and you don't want to speak in English. Absolutely.
If you can avoid it at all costs.
So, is it okay to actually tell a Brazilian chick, right? Hey, you're beautiful, and that's why I'm approaching you. Can you be that, transparent? Because in the West, if you open up with that, they start, acting up, blah blah blah. It gets their heads up. In Brazil, is it a different dynamic over there? Telling your woman you're beautiful, what's your name? That's why I approached you.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. I think it's preferred actually. Pickup lines, they probably hear it all the time from lames who don't know what they're doing. So you just start with something natural and go from there. You know, just
Awesome.
just a man to woman interaction.
Fantastic. Thank you, brother. Next question for you, brother, is how should men dress out there in Brazil, particularly Western brothers from UK, America, Canada? Do we come through wearing Sean John jeans, G-Unit sneakers, 4XL white tees, 4/4 length jeans, pants, trousers for brothers in the UK, a snapback New York Jets hat, blue bandana, red bandana, gold chain, gold teeth? Or do we come from a different way? How do we dress out there to attract the women that are respectable?
And to be honest, none of that garbage. To be honest, and people do it. I've seen it a lot, but it's like it's just like even if it's even let's say it does attract some of the women, okay, cool. But you're just putting a target on your head. Because then people are gonna be like, oh, gringo. Let me go take advantage of this gringo, right? I tell
Mm.
people all the time, if you're there in the daytime, a nice fitted black or white shirt, a clean black or white shirt or navy shirt, you can't go wrong. Don't have too much jewelry on. Don't have any jewelry if you can. Just have like kind of like a stringy type accessory on your arm. Um, a nice pair of shorts that are fitted shorts. Like tailored shorts and um, maybe some slides if you're going to the beach and um, actually, believe it or not, sometimes I would wear what they call a tennis, which is like high top shoes, like Nikes, Pro Whites.
Mhm.
And that's very, very foreign. It's very clear that you're a foreigner if you're wearing something like that. But that's what I really wanted people to know, that I'm a foreigner who speak Portuguese and are interested in their culture.
Mm.
That really attracted a lot of girls to me, and they can see it in the shoes. Um, but yeah, just basic stuff. But that's why I say if you're in shape, don't wear a shirt at all. Just wear some shorts. Just wear some shorts and some slides or some flip flops, Havaianas. You can buy some Havaianas from there. Just wear a hat backwards or straight with a nice pair of glasses, and you're good. Tank top, or I wouldn't say tank top. I'd say what is it? Wife beater or what? I think that's what it's called.
Mhm.
Just wear one of those. Keep it very casual. And then at nighttime, if you're in like Ipanema, parts of Copacabana and Botafogo and LeBlanc, wear a nice collared shirt with some shorts. In those parts, maybe you could wear you can wear a watch. Nothing too flashy. And you bring a girl to a restaurant or go to a restaurant, have some good dinners, and meet some girls that way. It's fabulous. It's fantastic.
Awesome, brother. How do you spell tennis? Those shoes
Tennis, like the sport tennis.
or tennis shoes? Okay,
Yeah,
yes.
they call it a tennis.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. Next question for you, brother, is the nightlife there in Brazil in general.
Hmm.
Is it vibrant? Is it fun? What kind of music do they play? Is it like Brazilian jazz music or Brazilian pop music? And do you have a good time during the nightlife?
Love it, man. They play a lot of Brazilian funk in the clubs that I frequent. The girls start getting down and start doing the shake. So I like to watch that. But a lot of the clubs I go to are like funk. They'll play some like Rihanna and stuff like that, and mixed in with it too, like very top 100 type music. So the nightlife there is very good. It's very, very good. There's a lot of parties that are in like the place I was telling you about, da Tijuca. I
Mhm.
just don't know of them because I never really went out that far when I was going to party. I would just like, because typically I would meet girls online and I would go on dates with those girls, and we already had our plans on what we were gonna do, and then we would finish the night with her coming over, whether we were watching a movie or whatnot. Like I already had my game plan for the evening through the dating apps a lot of the times, or if I met her on the street, we already set it up. Um, if I may add one thing though, when it comes to the dating, be prepared for the girls to flake often.
Mhm.
They frequently flake. That is just part of the culture. The girls like you'll set a date with a girl, and then an hour, I kid you not, an hour, sometimes 45 minutes before the date, she flakes, and you can't take offense to it. You just have to be say okay. You have to have several options available for you that night, who you can call on a spur or on a whim. It's just part of the game in Rio.
Interesting.
It's
Do
very
you?
common. It's enough for you to get frustrated. Like all the girls who I met and spent time with, I adore them. But every single one of them except for one flaked on me at least once.
Okay. So when they do flake on you, you can reschedule, or is it flaking and blocking you and never speaking to you again?
Sometimes it's that. Sometimes they just found somebody better, but a lot of the times they just because Brazil, their culture is you don't go out with a guy if you don't plan on spending the evening with the guy, potentially, if you know what I mean. So a
Mm,
lot of the time the girl gets nervous because she's like, well, I'm gonna get ready, I'm gonna meet this guy, and probably I'm gonna stay there, right?
mm.
So they just get nervous. So this is the best way that it was explained to me by some of the girls that I've interacted with.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
Or
Um,
self-conscious. They get self-conscious, like, oh, I don't look good enough tonight. Oh, I didn't get my nails done. Oh, I didn't shave.
so you're saying, brother, it's common, like if you go on a first date with a Brazilian chick, it's more than likely that it's getting on tonight, if it's happening in the nighttime in your
I don't
place or
want,
her place.
I don't want, I want to keep it YouTube friendly. I don't want to
Yes.
say anything that I shouldn't. So, but
Yes.
all I will say is, out of all of the dates that I went on, 90% of those dates, the first time we met, finished in a smile.
Fantastic. All right, that's for the Patreon. That's for the Patreon. So next question for you, brother, is are there any other cities in Brazil that the women check for brothers just as much as in Rio and Sao Paulo, from what you saw and from what you've heard from friends?
Oh, it's better, brother. It's better out there, actually. Believe it or not, I love Rio. Rio for me is home. But the Nordeste, like Northeast, Pernambuco, which I'll put in here. I'll put in the chat. Pernambuco, like Natal, those places. Pernambuco, Natal, João Pessoa, Fortaleza, um, Recife, like Manaus. Oh, the list goes on, brother. The further out you go into the north, and like even the Manaus is more the Amazon, but the further you go out, the better.
Wow.
Actually, the north is my favorite part of Brazil. Bahia, Salvador, Bahia. You're looking for beautiful black girls? Go to the state of Bahia. The state of Bahia. I was seeing, outside of her mindset, I was seeing girls who are looking like I'm seeing like Beyonce, Rihanna type looking beautiful women, all the way to Gabriel Union type beautiful looking women, those dark skinned beauties, and Kelly Rowland dark skinned beauties. Like they were everywhere in the state of Bahia and the Northeast. I was blown away. I thought I was gonna faint.
Also checking for brothers, huh?
I mean, black people check for black people, no? So I was very, very impressed with the quality and the brothers out there who are suffering with this stain of the the black girl is a beautiful black girl. She's a beautiful sister, and I think black women are beautiful women when they're in shape.
Hmm.
Uh, but to deal with them, in the West is not worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, so therefore, when you are in a place and you're dealing with the Afro Latinas, it is day and night a better interaction. And in actually in Bahia, you get some of the most beautiful women I saw were in the state of Bahia. You see especially the light skinned ones. The light skinned ones in Bahia were absolutely top notch. The dark skinned sisters were absolutely top notch in Bahia.
Wow.
Top.
Wow. Huh. This is good, brother. So if I want a black wife, brothers know where to go to. I know where to go to.
You
So I
should go
want
there.
that.
And the value
Mm,
system is different from Rio because it's not the postcard. So the girls are more, you get a lot of, you get that really what I call that middle class working class type of person who is just a genuinely good woman that you can work with and build with and live a good life with. You would find that in the north. You will find that in places like Bahia. And in my opinion, to be honest with you, if you're looking for the white sisters, head to Santa Catarina. Santa Catarina is the best. Rio, you get a lot, but with Rio, it's more of a hookup culture. You can still find plenty of beautiful women out there with no problem. It's a great place to be. But check out some of the other spots. And when you start checking out these spots, this is what I noticed. When I started checking out these spots, that I started seeing the opportunity and options that I had available to me. I just said, listen, your mindset gets changed. As Patrice O'Neill said, you feel like Superman. So
oh,
when I came back to the West, my interactions with women changed. And that's why these
mm,
people hate the passport bros so much because there's too many of us who have left, have done what I'm saying done, or at least done it on a more basic level because I do kind of study this kind of stuff so that I'm well prepared. But they've a lot of brothers have accidentally fallen into that kind of option, those options, and they're like, well, I'm not gonna come back here and deal with any kind of nonsense when I can
mm.
just go there and find a girl who I can be with and spend my time with. And that's just what it is, man. And I think that's what's really creating a lot of these sisters to be absolutely they're going crazy online with the passport brothers because they can't deal with it. They know it. They
Wow.
know it. They see their brothers. They see their cousins. They see their uncles. They're seeing it. They're seeing it happen. It's then the conversations happening at the table now with the families. Kevin Samuel's conversations are happening. Then the girls are starting to get scared because they're like, "Well, I'm 28 years old, and when I'm ready to have a man at 31 years old, he's going to be in Brazil. He's going to be in
Oh,
Colombia. He's going to be in Thailand. He's going to be in Ukraine." Well, not Ukraine, but Russia. He's going to be somewhere else, Germany, you know? And it's
this
starting
is
to spread to the point where it's becoming a problem for these black women and white women as well. But that's another topic.
oh, it's even affecting the white woman. Okay. Okay. I've got three questions follow up here. So, but that was great information. So the first question is, brother, um, all those places you mentioned, right? Please type in the private chat where, the further out you go, the black women here love brothers. Further out you go to this place, the white women here love the brothers.
But
Type in the private chat for me, brother. Um, Follow up question, brother, is the white sisters, right? The white sisters. You're
yeah,
telling me, brother, that the white sisters love brothers in that particular place you mentioned, the white woman, the blue-eyed, blonde hair, purebred Brazilian chicks. They love brothers in that place there. Is that what you're telling me, brother?
so here, let me be very honest with you. I haven't been to the South. I haven't been there yet.
Mm.
But my best friend, who basically spends half the year in Brazil for the last 3 years, he's there. He's not black, but he went there with this black guy that he met in Rio. And he's like, you will not even believe if you are a black man. And let me say this, focus on getting in shape and having a nice haircut. If you're in shape, you're looking okay, you're a brother, you're clean, you have a good career, you have a good head on your shoulders, smart, you're just, he's like, I couldn't, he's like, I did great, but like the black guy, his friend was just, he's like, he was just killing it. He was killing it.
Wow. And follow up question for you, brother, is white women are being affected by the passport bros. When did that happen, brother? Wow.
I've noticed this transition. I would say within since the pandemic, there's been a transition because the white men have been doing this for a while, but it's happening enough in the dominant communities here in the West, which is white people. It's happening enough for the white men, and I'm noticing it because I live in Vancouver, where there's a lot of Asian women. The Asian women now have gotten to the point where they've stolen so many of the white men because the most interracial outside of white is Asian. Outside of for the white people, the most interracial is white and Asian, and white men and Asian women, and it's become such a big problem for them here in Vancouver that when I would be out with I've got several white women now who said this behind closed doors, of course, right? Because all of them they have Asian friends, they have like they were we live in a very Asian dominant city. They would say, "Oh, is it an Asian girl he's going out with?" Or I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I've been going out with a lot of Asians," and they're like, "Oh, not you too," like things like that. And the brothers are getting scooped up by the Asians, myself included, as you know. Um, the white men are getting scooped up, and the black women are left behind. But there's not enough black women out here for it to be a problem. The white girls are getting the impact right now. So
Oh,
So it's becoming a very, very, very big problem for the white girls. And again, shout out to the sisters. But I said the sisters in the West are a problem. So you get an Afro Latina or you go to the continent to find a good one. But let me say you this. I personally don't date white girls because the same reason I don't date the black girls is the same issue that I've started to experience with the white girls. Unless they're
mm,
from Eastern Europe or certain cultured parts of Europe, I have zero interest in interacting with them on a relationship or um, physical manner when it comes to relationships.
wow, wow. That was incredible, brother. But you hear that, brothers? Did you hear that, brothers? Please get your passports. We are winning right now. Getting that passport is gonna change the whole atmosphere and the stratosphere in dating. Um, shout out to shout out to Theo Waff in the building. Thank you, brother, for the $10 super chat. Thank you, Theo, for the support. Much appreciation to you, brother. And that's why we're having the Manosphere meetup in Bahia, Salvador, Brazil. Oh my goodness, Theo, what? I thought it was in Rio. Damn. Shout out to Theo Waff for having the Manosphere meetup in Bahia, Salvador, Brazil. Oh my goodness, Theo, bro. Amazing, amazing. I can't wait for the stream when we promote it and when we discuss it even further. It's gonna be a blast, man. Shout out to Theo Waff, legend for always being there for brothers, man. Theo is actually setting this all up by himself. You know, Theo is doing this all by himself. Shout out to Theo, man. Please give Theo his props. Everyone, please clap for Theo. Say thank you to Theo in the live stream chat because Theo is putting in work for the brothers, man, for the passport bros. A good brother, good hearted brother. I respect the brother a lot. So thank you, Theo, for what you're doing for us, man. Appreciate you, bro. You know, we're going to where the feminine black women are. Yes, indeed, man. Man, Theo, Benzi and Theo, recently, right, I've been on my sisters, man. I've been thinking about, I love my sisters, man. I really do. And I was thinking, right, in this stream, Benzi, I
Mhm.
go to Bahia, okay, I get a feminine black woman and I take her to Japan, Hokkaido, or the countryside like Niigata, Aomori, and we live happily ever after with my black Brazilian dying chick. How does that sound to you, Benzi?
It sounds good, but usually when you're in those areas, they don't want to leave their family, which is what makes them good. Is they don't want to leave their family. They're very close to their family. But yeah, man, if you can pull it off, listen, if you can pull it off, and again, I too love my sisters. I love every kind of woman. But what these women need to understand, and what a lot of the brothers are understanding, is you got to compete for me. That's
Mm,
not gonna happen anymore. I will, myself and many brothers out there, we are not going to tolerate women who will not compete for us. It is unacceptable for a man who is on his mission, who is making more than $70,000 a year, which is not that much money here in the West. But if you're a man making more than 70K a year, and you can afford to take 1 or 2 trips a year to one of these countries, these girls better be on their best behavior, because the world, it is an international competition. And especially if you're a guy who's been blessed to be over 6 feet. If you're not, that's fine. 6 feet, 185 centimeters. But if you're not, it's still a huge competition. But like, if you're in shape, if you're about yourself, you're strong, you hold masculine frame, you're a good looking brother, you're smart, charismatic, worked on your social skill, have a network. Can you explain to me why these women here have the audacity to give problems to you, who only wants to be with them and provide them a good life? If they don't want to take the option, that is okay. You are going to need to compete. If you don't want to compete, that is fine. I will take my business elsewhere. Or as LeBron James said, I will take my talents to South Beach. We're going to take our talents to Copacabana, Ipanema, beaches in Thailand, beaches in Russia, beaches in Germany, beaches in Thailand, beaches in Africa. Doesn't matter. We're taking our talents elsewhere.
Wow. Thank you, brother. So I got a couple more questions, 5 more questions to wrap it up and get the people to call in.
Sure.
So ratio women to men in Rio and the places you went to, Brazil in general, is it 50-50 or is it more men than women?
More men than women. It's more women than men.
Okay.
It's more.
Thank you,
It's
brother.
by far too beautiful women too. It's crazy.
Thank you, brother. N-word use and racism. Did you ever experience racism and the N-word said towards you? Are Brazilians saying the N-word during a rap song? In Brazil. Break it down for us, brother.
Yeah, they do. They do. But like, I personally, especially being a foreigner, man, I don't think people understand. Like, when you're a foreigner who doesn't expect the women to jump all over you, because they're not going to do that anywhere. But when you're a man who can really understand how to attract a woman, it is, and you're a foreigner and you're well dressed and you're articulate and you're clearly intelligent, you dress well. Nobody has the low level people who want to just call you the N word and treat you racially poorly. They don't even bother. They don't even bother because there's no point. If that makes sense, there's no
Okay.
point in them treating you
Yes.
poorly.
Okay. But they do say
Yeah,
the N-word during rap songs.
yeah. That happens. It's normal.
Jesus. Disappointing. You've never been called the N-word to your face by a Brazilian person.
Only if they're black, and it was in an endearing way.
Okay. Thank you, brother, for your honesty. Next question for you, brother, is dangers to be aware of in Germany. Any dangers, brother, to be aware of?
In Brazil?
Oh, sorry, in Brazil. I'm thinking about
Germany.
Oh.
Things to be
I love
aware of
Germany.
is things to be aware of in Brazil is don't ever just have your phone out like in the air taking pictures or video chatting and stuff. People will just grab it. That's actually, I've seen that happen several years ago. I only saw it happen once, but once is enough, right? So you just want to be very careful with those kind of things, because you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're losing your stuff. But really, if you're not looking for any trouble, you're not going to find trouble most of the time, right? But don't put yourself in situations where you're going to be in trouble. It's just like if you're an American brother, um, know your audience is what I like to say. You know where to go, you know where not to go, you know what to do, what not to do. And once you do, if you do that, you're not, these things are so far and few between that you don't even think about it, to be honest.
Okay, thank you, brother. Is Brazil safe for black men to travel to?
Yes, I think so. I think so. The only thing that I would say that people need to be worried about is when you're interacting with low level women and you're not you're not you don't understand female nature, so you don't necessarily understand that you're interacting with a low level woman. I think that is the only thing that a man needs to be aware of, because she can set you up and put you in a situation that is dangerous for you in your life. So you just got to be careful with who you interact with. Never go somewhere with a woman that you're not aware of. Always have her meet you on your territory in a safe place where you're not going to be where you're not likely to have any problems with the interaction.
Awesome, thank you, brother. And should brothers travel alone or in a group to Brazil?
I personally think if you can travel with a group of boys, sorry, if you can travel with a group of boys, it can be the best experience of your life. But if you can't find people, a lot of the times it's hard to find people who want to travel with you and do these things, man. Traveling alone sometimes is some of the best experiences you'll get in your life. You'll learn how to network with people by force. You'll learn how to get out of your comfort zone, how to be adaptable, and all in all, it can be a life changing experience if you do it right.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, brother, for that incredible breakdown. I know your voice is getting a bit raspy. Do you want to take a minute or two break, brother, to get water or something to eat?
Yeah, just give me 1 second, actually, because my phone for some reason is not charging, and it's 10% battery. So I want to just connect to the stream on my laptop. If you just give me a second.
No problem, brother. I'll be here. Okay. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, and I'll just.
All right, awesome. So I'm going to put you on mute there. Hold on, brothers. All right, I'm back now, brothers. So great stream so far, brothers. Question for you, Theo. What would you go to Bahia, Brazil, get a feminine black woman there, and take her to Japan and live with her in Japan in a place like Hokkaido, Sapporo, Niigata, Aomori, Osaka, Tokyo? Is that a good idea, Theo? Let me know right now in the chat. Appreciate you, bro. Awesome. Let me bring in Mr. Benzi again, who's on his laptop. Thank you very much, bro.
Can you hear me?
Ooh, what was that noise? I can hear you, Benzi. Say something, brother.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, much better. Much better. Thank you, brother.
Awesome. That should be good. I was connected to my phone and my laptop, but now I'm connected to the laptop. The camera's off, right?
Yes, the camera's off. Yes.
Okay, just give me 1 second. I'm just gonna quickly use the bathroom and we'll get back into the stream, okay?
Okay, thank you, brother. I'm gonna put you on mute. Awesome, thank you, bro. Is that a good idea in general, Theo? Let me know. Is that a good idea? Bring your black Brazilian to Brazil, to Japan. I think that's that might be a good idea for the brothers, man. A country that's richer but still feminine and conservative in its thinking, you know. We gotta start thinking outside the box, brothers. Start thinking outside the box. So let me plug my socials real quick, and of course we'll get you guys brothers to call in to ask, good questions. Okay. Ah, shout out to Theo, man. Your wife in the building. Let me just put the links in here. Um, international passport clips. International passport clips. I'm going to check out my new video on international passport clips. You know, okay. Subscribe to my new channel there, brothers. I think that's pretty much it. So let me get the phone lines open
I'm
for you,
back.
brothers. Awesome, brother. So, brothers, please call in. If you have any questions for our guests, please be respectful to our guests, or you will be punished. I don't tolerate any disrespect or sideways talks towards our guests. Okay. If you can't call in, please catch up and super chat your questions. So let me ask this, Benzi, right? In terms of money and how, so let me ask, I've got two questions for you. Budget. What's the monthly budget in Rio for a good lifestyle? And how were you spending money there? Was it using your credit card or were you using cash? And if you can break it down for us, but any sort of, websites or utilities we should be using to spend our money. Do you use credit cards out there or debit cards and the conversion rate? Break it all down for us, but of course the monthly budget you had.
Yeah, so I saved my money. I don't use my credit card too much, which I'm trying to change. But I saved up a lot of money basically when I went out there and I went. That's not advised. I advise brothers to always find another way to make your money. We need to start really finding ways to, like, whether you're doing forex, whether you're doing online work, which is the best option, where you can take the laptop and just head where you need to head to and work from there. I think that is always going to be the best opportunity um, for you to change your life. So in terms of a budget, I would say if you were living the last time when I was there, which was not too long ago, if you want to live what I would call a good life, are we talking in Rio and Brazil in general?
I would say both, brother.
So Rio is different, right? I like to say Rio is different. If you want to be living more of like a posh upper middle lifestyle, I would say you need to budget about 15, I'm going to say in US dollars, because I think that would be the easiest for the audience. You need to have about 50, about 1,200 US dollars for an apartment. You need to have another minimum $500 US for enjoying yourself for the month, whether it be going on dates, um, Uber, about another 100 for yourself on food, like cooking in food and stuff like that. So I would say you need about 2,000 US dollars a month on the low end would make your life. I would say on the low end in nice areas can make your life very, very pleasurable. You're going on dates, you have a nice apartment, you have an unlimited internet connection. Um, you're living kind of what I would call a more of like a higher end playboy lifestyle. You have two, three girls that maybe you're seeing at once. I would say about 2,000 US dollars would be the the best in Rio. If you're living in another city, though, and I've noticed this outside, not excluding Sao Paulo, but if you're living in like the north or the south, 1,500 should be fine.
Okay. Awesome, brother. Fantastic. And do you normally use cash or do you use like cards to pay for stuff?
I normally use cards, so you have to be aware of the FX charges
Hmm.
for those normal foreign exchange charges. But if you have somebody who you know and trust, and you have to really trust this person, get them to open a bank account for you. until you get all your paperwork and stuff. When you get to Brazil, make sure you get what's called a CPF. It is very easy to get. And the CPF is basically like a social insurance card number, sorry. And that opens up a lot of different things for you to do. Like they ask you for your CPF for everything. You want to open up a gym membership, you need your CPF. You want to get a phone, you need a CPF. You want to get an apartment, you need a CPF. So go get a CPF. It's very easy, simple process for you to get done. And then from there, like, yeah, I would say 1,500 to 2,000 is the golden. That's living like a middle class, like closer to the upper middle class lifestyle. Like, let me be very clear: nice apartment,
Mm.
A healthy dating life, gym membership, Uber. You'll be able to get to have plenty of Ubers throughout the month. Food, like that kind of stuff. I would say 2,000, 1,500 in other cities to 2,000. The more the merrier, of course.
Awesome, fantastic, bro. And in terms of like transportation, um, what's the best way to move around? Is it train, buses, or is it Uber, Lyft in your
Train,
time there in Brazil?
train and buses are always the best. It's the cheapest, most effective option. But to be honest, for us as Westerners in the currency exchange, to catch that Uber is so tempting and so cheap that sometimes, like me, I did barely use the subway. I just used Uber. I just
Fantastic,
I
brother.
just use Uber.
Okay. And brothers, feel free to call in and catch up and super chat your questions. I'll keep asking the questions by the way for a caller. Shout out to Mr. Godbrother for the $20 super chat. Thank you for the support. Much appreciation. I love these conversations. Thanks for waking the brothers up. Thank you, brother. I work remote. I'm trying to learn to work out the country. Get into IT, brother. Get into IT. So, Benzi, let me ask this right. Is Brazil, and thank you for the super chat, Godbrother, again. Is Brazil a good, and Rio in general, and Brazil, a good spot to remote work IT there? So you earn money in Canadian dollars or American dollars or pounds, and you're working in Brazil. Is that a good option?
Yes. I'll say it quick. I'll say it loud. I'll say it proud. Anybody who wants to hear it's a yes. It's a yes. And if you can do it, and let's say you're a brother who doesn't have great experience with women or doesn't have great experiences with your life in the West and you will work remote, I think you would be silly not to pack up your bags and head to a place like Brazil, specifically Rio or some of the other cities that are posted in the chat, to start over. It is an incredible opportunity for you to change your mindset, change your physical shape. You can afford personal trainers. You can afford an upper middle class lifestyle. The weather is fabulous. The women are even more fabulous than the weather. It just doesn't make any sense for you to stay here and suffer
Mm,
when you don't have to do it.
facts, man. Facts. And when you come back, guarantee you will never take a West woman seriously ever again. When I made that first trip abroad many years ago, it was never the same. I was a different dude. I'm like, why do I need to speak to you when a week ago women were all over me? It's different
Mhm.
mindset. Absolutely, bro.
And I
Go on,
come
carry
at
on.
it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You go, you go.
No, just saying I come at it from a little bit of a different angle, because like I hear what you're saying with not dealing with the girls in the West, but I think when you come back here, it's almost as if you have it's almost as if you have cracked the code to the matrix, meaning that like you're able to see things that other people cannot see, and you're able to go in and out of the matrix. um so when you're dealing with the girls in the West, it's very easy for you to remove a girl out of your life who is not adhering to what you want
Mm,
in a girl. It makes it a lot easier for you to walk away because you have the abundance mindset and you've lived the abundance lifestyle. That if she's not cooperating, you know you have to give her her walking papers. And you can find a good girl in the West, because you can find a good girl in the West. It's not like they don't exist. But when you have that experience, you're like, okay, this girl is following my program. She's beautiful. She's kind. I might as well have her with me, right?
Mm,
But I'm not, and that's not easy to find. I think I found a couple of them here, but it's not easy to find.
beautiful. Thank you, brother. This is amazing. Um, Next question for you, brother, is in terms of the culture there in Brazil. You know,
Mhm.
culture is extremely important for me. I want the people to be kind. I want the people to accept me as a Western black man. Don't look down on me, appreciate me. I'm actually contributing to your economy. So you best bow down. I'm joking, but obviously, you know, just respect me in general. Um, how's the culture there in terms of, you know, kindness from the people? You know, the overall scene that the Brazilian culture is it worth living there? And tell me how the culture's like, brother.
That's a very good question. The culture there is something that's special and it's unique. And again, I said earlier in the stream, I talked about the Brazilian spirit, and you feel the Brazilian spirit amongst a lot of the people who you have in your social circle. The guys there are cool. Some of the times, like it's very weird for sometimes at the beginning, it's very weird for you. Like you ask yourself, like, is this guy maybe on like the other team? But it's just they're so kind and they're such good people and they want to spend time with their friends and have their friends into their life. Like I got invited to my best friend there. I met him on Hello Talk, one of the apps, in 2018. I talked to him for 6 months. I was learning Portuguese. He was learning English. And then I met him when I moved to Brazil. And then I met him and his father invited me to his daughter, which is my friend's sister's wedding, which was 3 days later. I
Damn.
didn't speak good Portuguese, but I met his whole family. I met his cousins, his daughter, her husband. I spent the weekend there. They were very hospitable to me. And for them, they're like a second family to me, right? So and it was very it was very important for me to experience that because I experienced that with several other people who I met where they just basically treated you like you were part of the family. And a quick story is one of my friends, she was traveling in Brazil when I was there back in March, because I traveled there twice last year, this year, sorry. And I was there back in March, and my friend was traveling through South America, and she happened to be in Brazil. Beautiful Filipina girl that I met here in Vancouver. And she met my friend's family, and then she went to a park. We went to a park at nighttime. And back in the day where we have family, where you have like cousins, extended cousins, they have kids, everybody has kids. There's so many kids around, and it's my cousin, and you're growing up with each other, and you're able to see the extended families in the parks at nighttime. They just finished a barbecue, and they're all there. Women have kids, aunties have kids, older moms have kids, and she started crying because she's 32 years old and doesn't have kids. She started crying and she said, she's like, I can't, she's like, just looking at this makes me emotional.
Wow.
And that's what I was talking about. That's what I said. And that was in the place Marika that I would put in the chat. You see this stuff happening all the time in these places, and it's a beautiful thing. And it changes your perspective, whether you're a man or a woman.
Wow. Amazing, man. And a lot of West women don't understand the future doesn't look bright for them.
It
It
doesn't.
really doesn't.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Let me ask this, brother, right? In terms of food and the weather, how is it hot all year round in Brazil and Rio? And how's the food like? I'm big on food. That the food has to be on point, if I'm gonna go there, and the weather too. Break it down for me, brother.
If you're not careful, you'll gain 10 kilos in Rio. If you're not careful, food is incredible. You can get anything you want. You can get Asian food. You can get traditional Brazilian food. You can get Italian. You can get everything you want in Brazil, in Rio in specific, and Sao Paulo in these parts. When it comes to the weather, in the south it gets cold. Actually, a lot of people don't know that. In the south, it actually gets to like, I would say like you'd experience like -5 in the wintertime.
Oh,
Like
okay.
not all the time, but like it'll get to like 0, 5 in the daytime, maybe 15, 20. But in the night it can get really cold. But in a place like Rio and in the north, it's just always hot. Outside of rainy season in Rio, July is not the best month to be in Rio. It gets quite cold sometimes. But outside of July, it's pretty good. And June and July tend to be like where it rains. But the north is always beautiful in Brazil.
Awesome, brother. Awesome. And is the food tasty in Brazil?
Delicious, world class.
Wow. And cheap as well, which is amazing.
Yes, cheap is key. Cheap is very key. You can go to. I would go on dates to like places that have 3-course meals, and I'd spend $45 for the date.
Wow.
You can spend a lot of money. Like you can go to Fogo de Chão. I'll put it in chat if brothers want to see it. And forgive my spelling. It's like a Brazilian steakhouse. If you bring a girl there, it's gonna be expensive. It's gonna run you about 65 quid. But it's an all-you-can-eat steakhouse. Great steak, great meats, great food, all you can eat. And if you bring a girl there, man, you're a guy that she wants to attach herself to because you can show her some of the better things.
Wow. I'm hearing background noise. Thank you, bro. In terms of like the portion of the food, is it a lot of food for very little
Yes,
money as well? Okay.
yes. The portions are big, which is
Fantastic.
part of the problem with the weight problem that's starting to creep up there.
Wow. Thank you, brother. Shout out to Mr. JM for the $10 super chat. How long does it take to get your CPF from the States? It's from the States. CPF
I think he means in Brazil.
from Brazil.
I got mine in 2 days. Very quick. I don't remember the process, but I remember the process is incredibly simple.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. Thank you. All right, brothers, man. Let's get some callers in. If we don't get a caller in the next 5-10 minutes, I'm going to end the stream. Okay, this has been a fantastic breakdown on Brazil in general, Brazilian women, Brazilian culture, where to go to. I mean, brothers, 2023 should be the best year of your lives. No cap, because 2022, I went ham on the channel. I really did. You got all the information for you to live great lives, meet women, and break out the matrix. And, maybe go into Bahia, Salvador, if you want a black woman so much. Check it out, man. Really check it out because, the options are there, brothers. It really is there. Make use. Go on, brother.
Can I say something interesting for the brothers?
Of course.
A lot of people don't know that, but if any of you know who Adriana Lima is a top Victoria's Secret model from back in the day. Adriana Lima is from the state of Bahia. That says it all.
Oh man, and she likes brothers. She was dating Kanye not too long ago.
No, Adriana Lima was dating what's that guy?
Cristiano Ronaldo.
No, she was dating his daughter's an actress now. He was married to the girl from the Cosby Show first. Lenny Kravitz.
Okay, so and she's beautiful. She's absolutely stunning.
Adriana Lima is stunning.
Yeah, she's from Bahia. Oh my goodness. There you go, brothers, man. Women like this waiting for you in Bahia. I don't know what you brothers are still doing in the West, man, honestly. I feel like we're getting played here in the West. We really are. It's eating itself inside in, and 10 years, 5 years, 10 years time, it won't be able to sustain the nonsense. There's going to be a huge revolt, and I don't want to be here when it revolts in the West. I'm gonna be abroad with my dime chick, with our families.
Man, there's a saying that I heard back in the day from a guy that I really enjoyed listening to. He said there's going to be a war in the West, and he's like, and I would rather be watching it on my big screen in South America than outside my window.
That's facts, bro. That's absolute facts. That's facts, man. Um, I agree with that, man. There's a lot of frustrated men in the West, and there's only so much you can take here. And I don't know why it's this way. I don't know why the powers that be are doing it like this. Because obviously, it started from somewhere. It starts from the top, trickles
Yeah.
down to the population, and it's just nah. I'm not going to be a part of that. All right, so brothers, please feel free to call in. If I don't call in very soon, I'm gonna end the stream early. Okay, this has been a fantastic stream. We're at 2 hours 45 minutes. Classic, 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 classic. Wow, amazing, man. Even Kanye's girlfriend, I think they broke up now, but she was Brazilian. She's actually the thumbnail for the YouTube stream right now. That's his girlfriend, bro, or ex-girlfriend. And look how
Kanye,
beautiful she is. Yeah.
the white girl?
No, the one that's literally on my YouTube thumbnail for this stream, that's his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend, mixed race mulatta.
On the far left?
The YouTube thumbnail. Sorry, my accent's a bit off. English
No,
accent.
no, no. I see it. I'm just looking. Oh, the thumbnail.
Yeah, so literally for this stream, brother. That's his girl, bro. And she's Brazilian. What does that tell you?
They're everywhere, man. Like the Brittany Renner. I don't know if you know this girl.
Yes.
The Brittany Renner type of girls, like kind of like that racially ambiguous, like great lower half, beautiful face type of girl. Think about getting a girl like Brittany Renner, except without all that Western toxic mentality in her head. That's what
Wow.
that's what you can find in these places.
Wow. And the one on my thumbnail, brother, the Kanye West's girlfriend, right? She is stunning. Can we still find that in Brazil right now? Someone exactly like her. 'Cause I'm obsessed with her, brother. I really am. She's amazing.
Yeah, so Juliana Nalus, you can find a girl like this very easily, to be honest. It's really not that hard. The only thing with girls like this is it's just like that beauty at that level. The thing is, to get a beautiful girl like this, you need to be a multimillionaire like Kanye in the West. If you're making 100, if you're making 60,000 euros a year or 70,000 euros a year, and you're living in Brazil, you can get her easy, a girl like that. No problem.
Wow.
No
Uh,
problem.
I wouldn't bring her to the West though, because I know there'll be a lot of problems. The simping will be out of control. Men will try and take
Absolutely.
her. The athletes, the rappers, the scammers, and the Western toxicity, the feminism stuff. It'll be too much for you to handle. You better keep her in Brazil. Don't bring her to West, because guarantee you she should get took, or should be poisoned by the Western culture,
That's right.
or you just can't handle her. She knows the options. She knows that she's a top dog. She's feminine, submissive, and she's beautiful. She can practice hypergamy quickly. Now, I'm sure not all women do that, but there's a risk there. Keep her in Brazil or in a foreign land. That's what I'm saying. Maybe take her to Japan, you know,
Yeah, if
because
you take if you take her to Japan, she'll become even more feminine.
facts, bro. You think Japanese guys can handle her, or you think they're interested in a girl like that? Come on, they ain't checking for a chick like that. Only you are. So, brothers, you need to start thinking out the matrix, man. Have that global passport mentality. Because the way the world is going, it's a global economy and it's a global thinking now. You can't just be America this, America that. It ain't gonna work out with a foreign chick like that, man. It really isn't. You want to speak on that, Benzi? The having like global mentality is very important.
I think having a global mentality is not only important, it's a must in this point in time. It's going to get to the point where you're going to have to, the West is going to deteriorate so much to a level that is unrecognizable that you're going to have to exit the West anyway. So why not do it now? Why not prepare yourself now? Set yourself up now and get out early before it's too late. I think brothers need to start looking for alternative passports. If you have a family member, who is a lot of us are immigrants, if you have a family, go get it from your native land. I don't care what passport it is, get it. Um, I think people need to figure out a way to make the money online. Um, as yesterday, um, I think And another thing I want to say is we're always talking about the beautiful women, but but there's plenty of cute women out here who would be just as better wives than the beautiful women, of course.
Mm.
And that's what people need to start to focus on a little bit more. Those sixes and sevens, those girls are great to date. They're great to date. They're there for you. They'll ride for you, and you can find them very easily. A lot of brothers focus on just finding that girl who is on the higher end of the sexual totem pole, and that's fine. But the best girlfriend that you're gonna get is probably a six. I think a six is more of that cute girl, as Kevin Samuels would say.
Mm.
We need to focus on these kind of things. Get your money up. The women are a reward of you getting your money up, getting out of the West, getting the passport, getting in shape, getting the intellect up, not dealing with the nonsense, being there to help her solve her problems. It'll all just work itself out once you get, but just start with getting the passport. And the second thing you need to start with is getting the passport, getting in shape, getting your mind right, and getting the money. These are the only things everybody should be focusing on right now. Nothing else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So I'm gonna close it. I'm gonna close the stream, Benzi, in 10 minutes. So at the 3 hour mark. Is that okay with you, brother?
That's all right, man. That's all right. I'm cool with that. It was a great stream. I appreciate you having me on. Um, I think I'm so happy. I'm so happy that black men. It's not like I'm not like a community guy. You know what I mean? But I am a black man. I do my head nod when I see brothers down the street, and I like to see when brothers are winning. I do,
Yeah.
and I think, I think we have allowed ourselves to be stuck in this. I need to make money in the West type thing. Even myself, I find myself finding that like, oh man, I just need to get my money in the West so I can get out. And I'm starting to maybe I think we were talking before. I was telling you how I was interested in going to Dubai and the UAE in general. Um, there's so much more alternatives than the West that people can really look at making some money before even heading to a place like Brazil.
Mm.
And it's just I think people need to focus on escaping all of this alternative lifestyle, all of this ungodliness that we have in our societies. I
Yes.
think we need to start. And I'm not promoting believing in God, but you need to start getting to places that are more based so that you can live your life in a more in a more structured way.
Facts. Facts. Conservatism, traditionalism is all I promote on this channel. I tell you, brothers, I'm not on that liberal time. Conservatism, traditional family, traditional mindset is all I'm going to promote on this channel. That's it. You know, I ain't no liberal. I don't promote that. I think liberalism is a disease in 2022 for what it represents. Back in the day, it represented workers, wanted to have more rights. I'm all for that, but now it's been completely destroyed and compromised and ruined. I just can't see myself being a liberal ever again. I'm a full on conservative. I'm a traditional man. That's the mindset I'm pushing until the end of days. Quite simple, brothers. It is what it is. No,
If I may say one last thing,
of course.
there's plenty of things that brothers can take from this stream that we had today. If there's one thing besides getting that passport that I would say that brothers need to take away from this, is do not get married in the West. Don't sign that paper. Do not sign that paper. If you're somebody who believes in marriage, there are plenty of other ways to do it that are more Eastern, traditionalist ways to do it. Or if you're in another country and you sign that paper for whatever reason, the impact on your life, if it doesn't go your way, is so much easier for you to navigate into your future that it is actually worth it. That you're not going to get fleeced for everything you have. So just remember that marriage is a beautiful thing, but marriage will ruin you in the West, whether it works out or not, because there's always that cloud looming over your girl that she has all of that power to take everything that you're worth, and it's not worth it.
Facts. Absolute facts, bro. Facts. Yes, indeed. 100% agree with that, brother. 100% agreed. I even see myself agreeing a lot more with our Muslim brothers now. You know, back in the day, that wasn't the wave, but the way the world is going, I think they're the ones that are going to save us. But that's for another stream.
I have to agree with you, bro. I have to agree with you. I converted myself a couple years ago, actually, to Islam. You know, I'm not a huge practicer of any religion, but it's funny. There's Andrew Tate is the guy who I guess he converted to Islam more recently, but I mean, I've been out here saying like, listen, like I'm not a religious guy, but I just don't see any other path other than Islam for anybody really to a traditional man to really live his life by. I don't see any other religion that can really combat that at this point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like Christianity, I don't know what's happening in the West with Christianity. It's a shame. I think they've been compromised. Big deal. The church has been compromised. Only Islam is standing strong. So please continue standing strong, our Islam brothers. Keep the faith. Please do so. We need you, brothers, to hopefully save us from this Western tyranny that seeks to pollute the world of its evilness and its evil thoughts. Keep the faith, Muslim brothers. This has been a great stream. Thank you very much, Mr. Benzi. All right, brother, you got 3 minutes to call in, or if you have any questions, please catch up and super chat your questions. Okay. Let me bring in Mr. Chad the Great. Thank you, brother. Awesome.
Crap.
What's going on, Chad? How you doing,
Mr. Hey, nothing much, man. How you guys doing?
Doing fantastic, bro. Doing fantastic.
So I was in Brazil in February. I'm probably going back in March to avoid Carnival.
Good man.
Because I already know it's wild, and then on top of that, I'm not trying to pay those prices for those Airbnbs because that specific time during Carnival.
Yes, sir.
All the owners kick everybody out because they make the most money out of the year during Carnival.
Trying to raise them prices, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm definitely not going. I want to go when it's more chill towards the end of the summer because summertime is the opposite there. That's right. What's going on? So I heard IP asked a few questions and I think I can answer them. So IP asked about the nightclubs. So the nightclubs are in Barra de Tijuca.
Yes, sir.
There's
Type it down for us, please, brother.
So the main one is called All In, ALLIN, All In. They have a hip hop night on Thursdays, but the rest of the nights are like Brazilian funk nights. Brazilian funk is like the biggest thing going on in Brazil. They really don't listen to hip hop at all. So it's all like funk and like Brazilian jazz and house music. The other nightclub, which is literally like right by all, and it's called Vitrini, Vitrinni. They're literally like the next street over from each other. So the clubs are usually popping from Thursday to Sundays, and you have to dress really proper to get them because they will deny you at the door. They're very like upscale. You know, like I'm not sure if IP been in like Vegas or LA or Miami, whatever, the real upscale clubs or New York.
Mm.
You have to dress the part to get in. They don't care if you're black, white, if you have money or you don't have money. Unless you're ready to like spend a whole bag, that's the only way you're gonna get in. But you have to dress the part to get in. Um uh Also on the weekends in Zona Norte, there's another club called Rio Black. So that club is different from all the other clubs because that's in the black neighborhoods. So they also play Brazilian funk, but on the weekends, especially on Sundays, they do line dancing. The line dancing is done to Afrobeat and R&B. On Saturdays, they play hip hop. They actually just expanded that club to add tables because a lot of Americans been going there and buying bottles. So that's a good club to go to if you're looking for like more like the black experience in Brazil. If you're not really into Brazilian funk heavy like that.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that great breakdown.
That's beautiful, 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 beautiful news, man. Thanks.
Yeah. Also, do not go all the way to the end of Lapa. I made a mistake of doing that before. That's the LGBTQ trans area.
Oh yes,
Oh,
yes, yes. Good.
Do not walk all the way to the end. Maybe go like 1 or 2 blocks max. If you try to go farther than that, you're gonna go into a whole different world.
how do you spell that place? So brothers can know to avoid. How do you spell it, brother?
Lapas is a long strip of like 5 blocks with all the bars and stuff that you guys were speaking about, but do not walk all the way to the end. Go 2 to 3 blocks max. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, brother. Great intel. Thank you very much.
You're also gonna need sunscreen and water. It is very hot there. Like I literally walked outside for 5 minutes. I was sweating through my white tee. Like literally, like it is that hot there. It's literally by like 88 to like 92 degrees every day, except for like rainy season, where rainy season is about like around 80 degrees.
March, you'll have a good time in March. Actually, you say you're going back in March.
Yeah, I'm trying to go for the whole month, but I don't know how that's gonna work out. So I'll probably just do 2 weeks.
March was I was there in March. March is my opinion. March is a perfect month because the prices just dropped from Carnival, where it's like super cheap because they're just trying to fill the places. So you can get a good place for a good price, and it's super super hot, super hot in March. So it's definitely a good time to go.
I was gonna ask you, what kind of attractions did you go to while you were there, or you just pretty much just chilled and did the bars and stuff?
Some of the attractions I would say, like obviously Pau de Açúcar. That's the good one. Really good one. I do a lot of trails. I do a lot of I'll actually put that in the chat.
So you went to the hiking thing then?
I do a lot of hike. Dois Irmãos. I'll put it in the chat here. Again, my spelling is terrible, boys, so just bear with me. Dois Irmãos. What is it? Trilha. I think it's Telegrafa. Telegrafa. Just look it up, boys. You'll be able to find the correct spelling. But that Telegrafa one, if you go there, it's a further out. And my God, it's in more of a local area. The girls there are so attractive. I don't remember the area itself, but I know exactly if you go on that trail. It's far, man, but the girls there are absolutely stunning.
Okay, I guess I did more of the tourist stuff, man, because I did Sugarloaf Mountain. I'm not sure if you did Sugarloaf before, but it's like three big mountains where you go up on the cable cars.
That's Pau de Açúcar.
Okay. So I went to Sugarloaf. I went to Christ the Redeemer, the big Jesus statue.
Yes, Cristo, yeah.
Yeah. If you're not in shape, don't do it, man.
I paid for the train, bro. I'm in shape, but I paid for the train.
No, I did the train, but at the last area, you have to walk up or you have to take these little small elevators. The small elevators, 2 of them were out of service.
Right. Yeah, you do have to walk
So I had to walk like the last maybe like 5-10 minutes up or whatever. I ran out of breath, man. It was freaking crazy. And then if you're scared of heights, man, go with somebody you know.
Okay. Thank you, brothers. So I got one last question to wrap up. Sunscreen. So the sunscreen that we use, is there a particular one for black skin, or average sunscreen is fine for black people, for black men to use?
That's a good question, man. I just bought some sunscreen out of the regular like pharmacy they have there. Because I didn't bring any with me because you know the whole like 3 ounce situation with the plane.
Mhm.
So I
Okay.
just bought some at the pharmacy.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, thank you, Chad, and thank you, Mr. Benzi, for your time. Much appreciated, brother, for the intel. So, brothers, please get your passports. Please, keep your head up. 2023 will be the best year of our lives. Once again, thank you to all those who super chat and those who support the channel tonight. Please keep supporting, and I will see you, brothers, on my next video. Once again, thank you to our guests, and thank you to all the brothers who supported, and thank you, Chad. Okay, thank you, brothers.